It's working? Maybe it's working. Oh, this is exciting, isn't it? Welcome to Streamlabs. The YouTube app was giving me that horrible kind of low resolution thing where nobody could read the cards. So we're going to attempt to do this from Streamlabs now. I wonder if this is actually giving me a feed. Let me check. This shall be part 2 of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan set review, which so far isn't coming through to my PC. Oh God, no. It's only 30 seconds. It's fine. These things tend to be a bit slow sometime. Keep refreshing the page, Steve. Maybe. Oh, where is it though? Oh, no, that's me. Refreshing the page, Steve. Maybe. You see, did you hear me? That was me, that is. Now, yesterday I was getting this terrible problem where the video was not updating, so... Oh, no, but there it is. Look, see, that's my page. Welcome one, welcome all. The chat window's up and everything. I'm going to write hello in the chat. Oh, I haven't got the same options at the top of my screen because I'm using Streamlabs that I used to. Never mind, eh? So I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to see the chat. As usual, I'll try and remember to go over to my PC, but I might not remember quite so much. Let me clear some space on this bit of the sofa. This bit here, can you see that? Which is closer to my PC, so maybe I'll notice the screen a bit more. I doubt it. I'll probably go and sit on the comfy sofa. But welcome in. Where the hell did we get to? Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Should we have a look at some Colours of Magic cards? I forgot to look at any Colours of Magic cards. These are the ones that I own now. As you can see, I've balked one of the packs. I felt like I might want myself some Mana Crypt, which I don't think we've even got to yet. And then I just kept buying the pack, I think, for Golden Wish. I haven't even got Captain Vance. I'm just not a combo player. It's the last one in the pack. I didn't even bother to get it. So why I got Golden Wish, not being a combo player, I don't know. I mean, look, my pile of crystals is very low now. I had nearly 8,000 crystals before, and I've blown it all on getting the Tortoise and the Shattergang. I spent it on that, and I spent it on getting Mana Crypt and the Golden Wish. So I'm probably going to run out, even with a beer. I mean, I was banking on the fact that there's a Battles from the Ages coming up, which will give me another 1,000 maybe if I absolutely grind the hell out of it. But even with that, it's quite possible, because I haven't even got to the end of the set review yet. I don't even know exactly how many of these mythics and masterpieces I'm going to want to have. It's quite possible I'm going to run out of jewels. Because this set kind of looks okay, doesn't it? Now, what were we doing? We were going... oh, no, it's not on that screen, is it? Show all cards. There you go. We were going to go and have a look at some of the 11s, weren't we? Oh, now, for Colours of Magic, we have to remember we're only playing with rare cards at a maximum. So we went through... Oh, no, but the point that we've gone through, the whole point of doing this now, isn't it, is that we have gone through them and we forgot to mark them up. When this creature attacks, you may exile another creature. If you do, return the first creature you control. I mean, I guess, okay, I guess that's a little better in the context of Colours of Magic, isn't it? I'm still probably not going to want to play it. But I guess in the context of Colours of Magic, that's okay. Creature or artifact card you control is destroyed. This creature gets +1/+1. Garbage. Descend for garbage. If you descended fungus token, garbage. Careening Minecart was a pilot. Creatures you control with pilot gets +4/+4. Garbage. When this creature dies, return it onto the battlefield under your control. Yeah, we're not really interested in that, are we? I mean, if you want to be sprogging your creatures out and back into play, you want to be using that guy, don't you, really? Hunter's Blowgun, yeah, garbage. Malamute Warscribe, did we even get as far as this one going through? Oh, well, that was quite easy, wasn't it? Just a little look at the colours of magic cards we've gone through. When this creature enters the battlefield, up to the first 3 creatures you control get +1/+1. Not great. You know, quite large for a really terrible uncommon, but, you know, high shit tier. But let's just go back to the alphabetical order we were doing it in before. And maybe we'll remember to do colours of magic cards as we're going along. Maybe we just won't. Let us see. Can anyone remember how far we got? Alphabetical. Now, we definitely got as far as Inti, didn't we? Now, it's been noticed that all of the discarding cards currently are discarding the first card in your hand at the moment, which makes Inti considerably worse. If he's going to be discarding the first card in your hand before he does the Discover 2, that's going to make it quite a lot worse, and he's going to be getting rid of quite a lot of your mana. This is, though, almost certainly a mistake. I've posted a thread in the forums to say discard's now doing the top card in your hand. Lou has said, our forum moderator has said, that this is unintentional, so it will probably get changed at some point in the future. So I'm going to just kind of carry on reviewing things with an eye to the fact that discarding will probably mean the last card in your hand. Currently means the first card in your hand. And maybe they won't even bother to fix it for a year or two. Who knows? But we didn't get too far past Inti, did we, as I recall? Don't remember Jade Seedstones. I think that's as far as we got, wasn't it? There doesn't seem to be any decent way of checking how many people are in the stream, which is a little bit disturbing. So I don't know. Oh no, there we go. Okay, so if I go off to the stream, it says there are 2 people here. That might be me. That might be me on my tablet and me in the stream. Please say hello in the chat if you're another person, because we might discover that I am streaming to myself. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if I was streaming to myself, because, you know, this is all going to YouTube, and I can just make sure that I make the stream public afterwards. But it's nice to have people. Hey, Shmara, I knew it was you. All you do is sit at home waiting for me to stream, don't you? You sit at home quietly, staring at the wall in the corner, like Sadako from The Ring. Or, actually, I think she might be called Samara in the American version, isn't she, in The Ring? With the body of her last suitor tied up in a bag on the floor. Just waiting for me to start my stream. Well, hello, here I am again. Let's get back to the cards, and we're moving along to the next one, which is Ixalan's Lawkeeper. When this creature enters the battlefield, the first 3 dinosaur or cave cards in your hand that can gain mana, gain 3 mana. Pretty garbage. Jade Seedstones. Craft 3 creature. Don't like it, that's too many creatures. When this card enters the battlefield, all your creatures get +2/+2. When it's crafted, it's going to have to be big, isn't it? You get this. It's a 7/7. You gain life equal to the number of artifact cards in your hand. Well, that's probably not many. You've literally just thrown away half your hand of creatures in order to bloody craft the damn thing in the first place. So you're going to be gaining at most 3 life. Hooray. When an artifact creature you control attacks for the first time, this creature gets +2/+2 for each of its reinforcements. There's a 7/7 and it's getting +2/+2 for each of its reinforcements. There doesn't seem to be anything actually reinforcing it. So if I was you, if you want a 7/7, I would just play with a different card that is not Jade Seedstones. That is my advice to you. Let's have a look at Jade Light Spelunker. When this creature enters the battlefield, it explores 3. Okay, so that's converting 6 gems. And if you don't get a match, it gets +3/+3. Small. I mean, I guess converting 6 gems to green is a fair bit. I mean, that's, you know, that's a kind of a conversion card. I don't like it. 6 gems for 10 mana is not a good enough rate for me, but maybe some people out there will. Maybe some Johnnies will. This will be a piece that they desperately want to put into their combo deck. Who knows? Then if you control another Merfolk, reinforce this creature. Yeah, I'm not too bothered by that. Join the Dead. Descend 2. Still pretty bad Descend 2, isn't it? Target creature gets -5, -5. Oh, okay, right. So it gives target creature -5, -5, which is not enough. And if you happen to have descended 2, it gets -10, -10 until end of turn. Yeah, until end of turn. You all know the until end of turn rant. There's no need to do that again. So bad, isn't it? Bad. And it had flash as well. Don't waste flash on crappy removal. Let's have some good removal with flash. I haven't had good removal with flash in a while. I think there might be some in this set, actually, some good removal with flash. I can't quite remember, though. Kellen Daring Traveller. What have we got here? We have a Human Fairy Scout. When this creature attacks, pick one of the first 4 cards of your library, fetch that card, and destroy the others. That's not terrible, is it? For a 7 mana, doing a Surveil 4 every single turn. At the beginning of your turn, create a map token. What does that do? Target creature you control explores 2. It's just a bit unexciting. There's bits of power wrapped up here and there. You know? Drawing a card. You know, dumping a certain amount of cards into your graveyard as well. I'm thinking high shit here. Create X map tokens. X is the number of artifact supports you control, including their reinforcers. Somebody noticed this earlier, that this has got a mana cost of 0. Who knows if that's intentional or not? Who knows if it will get changed or not? If it wasn't intentional, working as intended is what Octagon would say about it, isn't it? So I'm unexcited by Kellen Daring Traveller, but it's certainly high shit tier, isn't it? I mean, kinda. Yeah, kinda. When you're mastering cards, you kinda want to be putting the same, because you've usually got too many creatures in your deck, haven't you? So look at me making excuses for high shit tier cards, but not really that great. Here we have a 9 mana double striking 2/2. It's a little expensive for a double striker, haven't we? We've had 6 mana double striking 2/2s before. It does explore 2, which might allow it to become bigger. So yeah, you know, okay for an uncommon. Maybe some pajamas out there might want to run it, but a little unexciting generally, I think. Oh, pajamas all about doing mana conversion and giving things double strike anyway, isn't he? He's probably not going to care about a 9 mana 2/2 double striker, and he would be the only one who would care. Cutsil, Malamet Exemplar. 16 mana 3/3. That's bad, isn't it? That's very bad. When you cast this creature or it attacks, it explores 1. It's doing the conversion at the wrong time thing, isn't it? Not good. Then if your opponent has more cards in their hand than you draw 2 cards. Yeah, definitely, absolutely not good enough. In a lot of different ways. Oh, I can see that. Did you see that? Look, just trying to creep onto the side of my screen, a Masterpiece card, distracting me from Cutsil's Flanker. This is a 10 mana 4/3 lifelink. That's okay, isn't it? When this creature enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. I mean, okay, that's not really a thing, isn't it? So the kind of effect you want on a, to just randomly show up on a really great card. I'm not sure this is going to be it. Then this creature gets +X +X. X is the number of creatures that died this turn. Yeah, you can see what's happened here, can't you? Wizards of the Coast made a paper version of this card, no doubt. I don't know that this is definitely true, but this is what it looks like. They made a paper version of this card and they gave it flash so that you could flash it after creature combat on your opponent's turn. And Webcore have not clocked that. And they've given this flash. I mean, who fucking cares if it comes into play? Flash only works before creature combat, doesn't it? So who cares about that? So, yeah, once again, high shit tier. Life insurance. What have we got here? This is our first masterpiece of the day. When a creature enters the battlefield, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Right, we're into classic pumping up Thopter Spy Network territory, aren't we? You know, a card that does not really need pumping up. Or Tainted Adversary, you know. This is the thing, isn't it? Is you immediately look at this ability, you think, oh, I'll put loads of tokens into play. But if you can put loads of tokens into play, you can just kill people with those tokens, generally. That's my theory, anyway. As I say, got to remember, I'm the guy who poo-pooed Tanazir Quandrix. So if Tanazir Quandrix is your bag, ignore everything I say about these things. When a creature dies or loses a reinforcement, this support loses 1 shield, then increase its level. Well, I don't really like that. Seems like it's going to die from that. Doesn't it? It's only got 4 shield, and, you know, shields get pinged off things all the time, don't they? When a creature dies or loses... When this support is destroyed, create X gold tokens. See, I'm sure I heard somebody on Discord going, oh, look at this looks exciting. And I'm really unexcited by this card. Like I say, if you're going to be playing a lot of creatures, let me just, there we go, just tapping on the side of my PC to shut the fan up there, because that's what you do. I'm very good with computers. I know how to fix things. Yeah. If you're putting a lot of tokens into play, then yeah, then just beat people up with the tokens, frankly. I'm not excited by this card. Like, clearly, with a triggered ability like this is one for the Johnnies. I'm not sure even the Johnnies will really care. They've got Galter these days. They've got Captain Vance. They've got Galter. I don't know why they would care about life insurance. Let me know, Johnnies. Mainloop, you're in the chat, aren't you? Tell me what you think of life insurance. I will, in the meantime, move on to Lodestone Needle. Craft 1 artifact. Nice low number. That's good. When this support enters the board, target opposing creature against stun counter 2. Okay. Okay. It's a bit expensive for stun counter 2, isn't it? When this card is... I kind of don't mind the stun counter mechanic. Like, I hate the way the stun counter mechanic doesn't immediately... well, let's just tap on it and see what it says. Maintains a creature disabled for a number of turns. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. Am I wrong about this? I rarely play with stun counter. Does stun counter actually disable a creature straight away? Because I've seen cards that disable creatures and give them stun counters to get around that perceived issue that I think that they have. But maybe they do. So, you know, I think that as soon as a creature gains a stun counter, it should become disabled. And then, you know, as it gradually loses them, when it loses its last one, then it becomes enabled again. Maybe it does work like that. Who knows? And I kind of don't mind that, but it needs to be better than just stun counter 2 for 10 mana, I think, you know? I mean, you reverse it and give it stun counter 10 for 2 mana. I'm on board with that, boys. But, so, this is the thing, you know, it all comes down to the numbers with stun counter. When this card is crafted for only 1 artifact, remember, which is not terrible, and it's an artifact itself, something to do with extra copies of it. At the beginning of your turn, target creature you control explores 1. I mean, I guess. But no. Obviously no. I mean, it's not a land, is it? It's not even an expensive land because it doesn't do the conversion if you don't have a creature. So, clearly bad, but, you know, slightly worse than I was thinking. I was thinking hard there about whether it was really, really bad or just really bad. And I'm just wasting everyone's time doing that. Magmatic Galleon. Nice. I like the design. Nice big seahorse on the front there. Or magma horse, perhaps. Is that a magma horse? When this support enters the board, deal 5 damage to the first opposing creature. How much damage is 5 damage? That's right. It's a finite amount of damage. it's not enough. When your first creature attacks, your first creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn. When an opposing creature is dealt excess non-combat damage, well, that's just that's just an overcomplicated clause on that card, isn't it? Yeah, throw it on the high shit tier pile. You know, +5/+5 for an equipment. It should be an equipment, really, and not a vehicle, shouldn't it? You know, it's definitely going on the high shit tier pile. Malamet Battleglyph. Your first creature gets +1/+1 and it fights target opposing creature. Yeah, well, fight clearly is a win more mechanic, isn't it? You know, and this one isn't pumping your creature enough to make any difference at all. So it's just like if you're already winning, if your first creature's already bigger than your opponent's and you win some more, and if it's smaller than your opponent's, well, fuck your luck, basically. Malamet Veteran. Descend 4. I mean, fuck right off. Am I right? Fuck right off. Kilroy, my man Kilroy. Hello, Kilroy. I don't know if you ever come into these things or watch my streams. He mentioned on Discord that he thinks the way to go with Descend is heavy conversion. And my man Matt, who I know sometimes comes and looks at these things, said something very sensible, which is, well, look, if any strategy needs heavy conversion to make it work, then, you know, just do the heavy conversion, you know? At that point, you're building, in inverted commas, the combo deck, aren't you? And you don't want a Malamet Veteran, or even any other card with Descent that I've bloody seen. You just want to kill somebody with a Captain Vance, really. Malamet Warscry, this was the thing earlier we were looking at, the cost 11 mana. Malcolm. Alluring Scoundrel. Oh, right, yeah, I know, I think we've seen Malcolm. Hasn't Malcolm been on a card before? I think he might have been on the other side of a flip card or some adventure card or something. Or maybe one of those. What were those cards where you get to choose to go and put the other type of it in your deck? I can't remember. Whatever. I think we've seen him before anyway. He is a Siren Pirate with Flash and Level. Now, I've gone on record recently as just saying that Level just tends to be a really terrible mechanic. Anything, in fact, like Descend, yeah, that requires you to do something a certain number of times before it does anything at all, I think just lends itself to being a bad mechanic. And I think Level also falls into that category. There are, of course, good Level cards. Bloodthirsty Adversary, Tainted Adversary, these types of things are good Level cards. But they use Level in a completely different way, don't they? They don't tend to tick up when you do a thing and then require you to do a certain things. Anyway, let's see what this one does. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, increases card's level by 1. You see? Like that. Exactly like that. Ticks up by 1 when you do a thing. So slow. Look at this. If this card's level is 5 or more. I mean, really? Don't do anything interesting until you've attacked with the 3/3 creature 5 times. Really? You may move the first creature or artifact card from your library to the battlefield under your control. I mean, don't we have things that just do that? Isn't there like a Zergo or something at the moment that just goes, bam, there you go, there's a thing into play when I attack? There's a big Cerberus looking motherfucker, isn't there? From a set or two ago. That just used to put things into play. And I think when it entered the battlefield as well. And this bad boy, Malcolm, thank you, Dr. Malcolm, has to attack 5 times before it does it. I mean, Christ. It's not good, is it? I mean, that's not even high shit tier at 5 times. This is we're at ninjutsu levels of badness with this one. Ugh. Ugh. I mean, yeah. Ugh. Lots of ugh. All creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. Just awful, 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 awful. Here we go. Here's a card. Look at this one. Mana Crypt. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to your Planeswalker's colours. Mana Fill. The first card in your hand that can gain mana gains full mana, all of its mana, then you lose 9 life. I mean, this is really good, isn't it? Is it going to surprise you when I now launch into a big spiel about why I don't like it very much? Is that going to surprise you all? I don't think it is. Now, look, this might even be good enough for me to play with. I don't quite know yet. Here's how my brain works. Well, this is what my brain does when I process this card, right? Firstly, I look at the first clause on the card. Convert 3 gems to your Planeswalker's colours. And what I do is I look at that and I think, that's a land that's not quite good enough. And the reason I think it's not quite good enough is because generally I want to be playing with 2 or 3 colour Planeswalkers. Now, converting 3 gems to your Planeswalker's colours, that's pretty good for a mono Planeswalker. Pajami is going to fucking love this card. In fact, come to think of it, Liliana of the Veil is going to be an absolute nightmare with this card, probably. And she's pretty badass as it is. So there's a place for this in mono Planeswalker decks, certainly. But for my decks, personally, playing Ral, and... no, pretty much just Ral. It's not quite good enough. 3 gems to 2 different colours is not quite good enough. I play with Ren and 6, the Vanguard Ren and 6 a lot in my Ral deck. Early on in the game, I'll tend to put it into play when I've only got 3 cards in my graveyard, and it sucks at that point. I don't play it for that. I play it because later on in the game, it converts a lot more than that. So I look at that first clause, I see a land that's not good enough. I look at the second clause, and I see Mox. And I'm sure you know my thoughts on Mox. Moxes are like really great, and then you have a game where they end up in the corner, they don't do anything, and you lose. And you go onto Discord and you cry about the fact that Greg got really lucky and there was nothing you could do about it. So that's how my brain processes this card. And my brain just edits out the 9 life thing. We'll get back to that later on. My brain sees a land that's not good enough stapled to a Mox that I don't particularly want to play because I don't see it as reliable enough. Don't get me wrong, Moxes are very, very reliable. You'll probably get quite a few perfects in coalition events playing with Moxes. It's not a way to build up a big streak of perfects. Yeah? It's not that reliable to do that. In my opinion, anyway. I think people probably do. I'm sure there'll be players out there, actually, who are getting huge perfect streaks in coalition events and playing with Moxes. But not for me. But, to be honest, the combination of both things might push this card over the edge, even for me, you know? The fact that after it's triggered at the start of your turn, you know, you've converted a few gems, which might not create, probably won't create a match, since I'm personally in my Ral deck converting to one of 2 colours. That might generate a match. It might allow me to make a match that wasn't there before on my uncolour colours. And furthermore than that, it might allow me to do a mana field, you know. So it's giving me a turn that's a lot better than it would have been without it being in play. And all those things might be enough. It's not really going to... the things, because it's converting gems to my colours, it's not going to create any off-colour matches. Does this make any sense to anybody at all? Like, if it converts gems to on-colour matches, and by converting gems, then allows me to mana field, yeah? That's a bit win more for my liking. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. It's like there are 2 different things it does at the start, before I do my swap on my turn. But they're parasitic. They both build off each other, you know. Either it gives me both things or it gives me neither thing. And I don't really like that. Still, like I say, clearly great. There's dangerous, very dangerous mono Planeswalkers out there who are going to be playing this card. Watch out for those bad boys. As for the losing 9 life, I don't know. I mean, I like that. I do think there should be more cards that allow you to use life to have effects. Oops, I've accidentally moved it off the screen. I have played with lands in the past. Castle Lochthwain was a land that, not a particularly top tier land, but I ended up using it in Challenge of the Courts every so often. That was a land life loss might end up with really significant. Like the life loss on a Grim Tutor is nothing, isn't it? 6 life one time. But 9 life every time you hit that mana field, you're probably going to be wanting some kind of backup plan there. There are plenty of good backup plans around. As you know, you can play with Gristlebrand, you can play with Scheming Fence. That's my own personal favourite life gainer at the moment. So yeah, I did go right after this card. That's why I've only got 1,675 jewels at the moment. Because I did go after this card when I saw it in the Elite Pack. It might not be good enough for me to play, but it might. It's pretty chasey, that one, isn't it? Let's face it. Let us move on to a card that is almost certainly not chasey. Well, 8/9's all right for a 15 common, anyway, isn't it? What do we got? Cycling 3. When you cycle this card, create green, is that going to be a 3/3? I mean, that's actually pretty good for a common, isn't it? Yeah, 3 mana for a 3/3 is large, isn't it? You know, and 8/9 for a 15 mana, and it's got ward, which is supposed to make it a little difficult to kill. I mean, yeah, high shit tier, absolutely high shit tier. This is practically god shit tier, isn't it? Keep pushing that. Just push the power level of these things up just a bit more. You might even see them in well, quite a lot more, to be honest. But, you know, you might even see things in... I mean, cycling's always good. That's the thing, isn't it? You know, 3 mana for a 3/3 and a new card. That's almost fucking playable, to be perfectly honest. What went wrong there? It's the fact that they fired Kevin, isn't it? It's Kevin, the intern, who used to do all the commons. He lost his job and he's living up in the Bahamas now. He would never have made a common that good. I quite like that card. Market Gnome. What is that card? I'm trying to think. Is that like a robot? Looks like a robot to me, doesn't it? I'm going to say it's a robot. When this creature dies, you gain 3 life and draw up to 2 cards. It's a 0/3. When this card is exiled from your hand during your turn, you gain 5 life. Oh no, I'd like to see more effects like that. Obviously, that's terrible. Exiled from your hand, gain 5 life. But let's have more cards like that. You know what this uncommon is worse than? It's worse than Marauding Brinefang. That's what it's worse than. Terrible, terrible, terrible. What have we got here? Craft 1 artifact. When it enters the board, create a blue golem. Is that 3/3? It's a 4/4. Look at that. A 7 mana 4/4. And it's going to turn into a thing. Oh, if the thing's good, this might be a good card. Let's have a look. When an artifact support enters the board under your control, create a blue golem. I mean, that's high tier as shit, frankly, isn't it? High shit tier as shit. Not actual high tier, obviously. But, yeah, look at that. Create a blue golem. You only need to craft 1 artifact, 7 mana. And then you get a new artifact every time you... Oh! When an artifact support enters the board, you can do all kinds of fucking gold token shit with that bad boy. That's alright, isn't it? I doubt it's really playable. But it's certainly okay, isn't it? I mean, that is solid. That's higher than high shit tier. Certainly higher than high shit tier, I think, that one. What's going on here? Again, you know, I'm not going to be playing with it in standard. Somebody might play with that in standard. And it might be okay as well. Do you know, somebody might put that down. Pajamas things aren't artifacts, are they? They're enchantments. That would be dangerous, wouldn't it, if they were fucking artifacts. Somebody might put that down and get a really lucky turn and actually give me grief with that in a standard event. I quite like it. Matzatlantli, the Great Door. What have we got here? Mana field, discard a card and draw 2 cards. Obviously terrible at the moment since it's discarding the first card in your hand. Descend 4, right, that's too much. Oh, right, and yeah, and the mana field is the effect on the card. That's kind of the worst kind. You don't want a discard effect on your mana field at all, do you? The worst place to have mana field. And then you've got to descend 4 to get the beginning of your turn. If your descend support level is 2 or more, you can see why I'm confused, aren't they? Like, they've made this card and you have to put it into play and get your descend up to level 4 in order to transform it. That's literally the only way to transform it, is to have a descend level of 4. And then on the other side of it, they write descend 2. What's going on there? Whatever, it just triggers. Let's just go with it. If your descend support level is 2 or more, gain X mana. X is the number of cards in your graveyard. I mean, that is just an effect that shouldn't be on the backside of a defend 4 card, I'm afraid. It's an effect that we could really have talked about if it had been anywhere other than the backside of a defend 4 card. If you want to build around that card, go ahead, but it's kind of terrible. Even though that side of it is great, it's kind of, just play, honestly, you all out there should be playing with Renin 6, the Vanguard, more often. I play with it every week, and it fucking rules. If you want to be getting mana off cards in your graveyard, that's the way to do it. Merfolk Cave Dive. Oh, 11 mana, Colours of Magic. When a creature you control explores, this creature gets +1/+1, then this creature gets unblockable. Absolute pants. I can read the screen this time. Yes, hello, Madren. Yes, I spent all of yesterday. This is why I'm streaming on a Monday and not like a Sunday, which would have been sensible. But I spent hours yesterday, and it was very stressful, changing the app that I stream with. I used to stream with the YouTube app, and that's why I was getting all of the fucking low resolution text, I think. And now I'm streaming with an app called Streamlabs, and I think it solved the problem. I don't know. We'll find out as we go along. But I made an attempt. Let's put it that way. I made an attempt to fix the problem, and so far it is fixed. Mainloop there says Mana Crypt is bugged. What's wrong with Mana Crypt? Why is it bugged at the moment? Yeah, that's right. I put time and effort into my streaming, Matt. I really do, because I care about my audience. Might of the Ancestors. Let's move on while we're waiting for some chat things to pop up. At the beginning of your turn, your first creature gains +2/+0 and gains Vigilance to the beginning of your next turn. Why is it so clearly an equipment? Why isn't it an enchantment? I mean, you know, fair enough. Not everything has to be an equipment. You can have different cards that do different things. But then it just, you know, just seems like a bit of a waste to me to write an equipment and call it an enchantment. Still, it's terrible, so moving on. Miner's Guidewing. When this creature dies, look at that, it's got Vigilance 1. Fuck me, who thought of that? Vigilance 1. No, Steve, that is highly relevant, because if a creature with 0 power attacks it, it will block. Yeah, thank you. Mineshaft Spider. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy the first 2 cards of your opponent's library. Well, that's certainly worth 16 mana, 3/4, isn't it? Beginning of your turn, mill 8, reinforce this creature. You know, we could certainly talk about a defender that gets larger every turn. We could talk about that, but not a 16 mana 3/4. It just starts way too small. Mischievous Pup. Oh, I like the art on that one. What's he run off with? I can't tell. It's got a cog on it. I dig the art on that one. It's nice. It's a dog. It's a flash 5/3. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may return another non-token creature to your hand. If you do, create a map token. It's the curse of Flash once again, isn't it? You know, is that this in paper? This has obviously been designed for combat tricks. And that's been completely obliterated by the different way that Flash works. I really wish they would think about Flash. Just once, think about Flash. Jingataxius almost works with Flash, doesn't it? Do you remember that? That one you put down and, you know, you'd put it down at the end of the turn and it would make your opponent discard their hand, or I can't remember how it works. I remember it's buffing mana bonuses, isn't it? That's right, that's what it does. It buffs your opponent's mana bonuses and makes them discard all their card every turn, but it's bugged because everything's bugged. So that your opponent's mana bonuses at the moment just keep going up and up. But that was a thing that almost, note almost, was relevant with Flash. It was still a bit shit because Flash doesn't trigger if your opponent doesn't have creatures. But most Flash things, just pointless. All we want with Flash, literally all we want with fucking Flash, is removal cards. That's it. If it doesn't say target creature dies, or your first creature dies, or something like that, it's basically pointless as a Flash card. Moving along, Molten Collapse. I quite dig that artwork as well, to be perfectly honest. That's quite nice. Oh, now I've heard about this one. This card cannot be currently obtained from card pack. Are you kidding me? They're hiding removal this good behind a fucking paywall. Do you know what? I might pay for it. I shouldn't, should I? I mean, this is what I'm looking for in RAL at the moment, you know. Check this bad boy out. Destroy the opposing card with the greatest mana value. Which is probably the one you want to kill, isn't it? Isn't it the one you want to kill? I'm pretty sure it's the one you want to kill. You know? I mean, I guess the other day I was being beaten up by a Guy's Revenge and a Zoppendrel. And it would have hit the Zoppendrel and not the Guy's Revenge. But, to be fair, it was the Zoppendrel that was doubling the power of the Guy's Revenge, so maybe I do want to kill that one. Destroy the opposing card with the greatest mana value. Untargeted as well, so it is going to hit those Guy's Revenges. It's going to take out some Vita Fairies. It's going to take out some Chimils. It's going to take out some Into the Multiverse, or whatever it's... What's that thing called again? Is it Into the Multiverse? That blue thing that just sprogs things into play all the time. I mean, this fucking thing rules, doesn't it? Then, if you descended this turn, destroy the highest non-land support with the highest shield. I mean, it does both things. Clearly, the descend thing is... I mean, it's a bad clause, but this is, you know, untargeted removal that works on creatures, it works on Vanguard supports, it works on supports. And then if you happen to have descended, it's going to blow up two things in a single turn. Weird. It's weird that they will make a removal spell exclusive, isn't it? It's almost like they hate people playing any decks except combo decks, don't they? No, fuck you, control players. Go and play combo instead. Yeah, all those cards are free. You can have all of those cards. Go and get Captain Vance out of the fucking Elite Pack right now with your huge stack of crystals. Jewels, I mean. But yeah, nothing more to say. Well, actually, I suppose the thing to say is hopefully there's a Descend card that isn't fucking awful. Because you want this to trigger twice, but you don't want to have to play with a bad Descend card in your deck to make this trigger twice. Do you? So we're going to be keeping our eyes out for a Descend card that doesn't suck, that's good enough to actually play with. I fear there will not be one. This will still be a good removal card even without that. But it would be nice if we could also Descend without having to play a shitty Descend card. Nixon cancel current conductor. Oh, current conductor, right? Not the current conductor, but a conductor of the current. When a land support enters the board under your control, target creature explores 2. Blah. When you convert gems for the first time during your turn, this creature gets +1/+1. Yeah, just all not good enough. All not good enough, you know. I suppose, I mean, I guess the average power of commons and uncommons is going up. Do we care about that? Not sure that we do. Nurturing Bristleback. Oh, here we go. It's another one of those cycling things. When this card enters the battlefield, create a green dinosaur. Why is this so much worse than the blue one? This is obviously 1,000,000 times worse than the blue one. Why? I mean, I know the answer to that. It's because it's blue. But it is kind of bad for the game when blue gets all the good cards, isn't it? I mean, okay, this one does a different thing. You get a 5/5 and a 3/3 when you play it. You get well, you get an 8/7, don't you, on the other one when you play it. So, but yeah, why? Cycling's back. Oja Axonil, Deepest Might. We talked about this guy. I feel like we've talked about this guy. I feel like I've talked about this guy. Let's talk about this guy. When this creature deals combat damage to a creature, deal that much damage to a random opposing target. So the bad thing we're looking at here is Berserk, isn't it? Yeah, it's a 15 mana 5/5. It's got first strike, but it's got Berserk. So it's heading in to attack one of your opponent's creatures and it's going to die. However, it is a god. So, to a random opposing target. Yeah, so it's kind of unreliable and bad. Basically, is what it's doing. Is if you've got this in creature combat, if you've not got this in creature combat, it's just dealing 5 damage a turn. Who cares? If it's in creature combat, it's monkeying around with the board, but you know, in an unreliable way. In a way that is ever so slightly better than normal creature combat, which is terrible. Let's have a look at the other side though, because maybe we really want this guy to die. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to red. Okay. Not really exciting enough. When a support or spell card deals 4 or more damage during your turn. Oh. Okay, that's how you turn it back again. I mean, just the whole package. I'm just not interested in the whole package, really. I don't really want a 15 mana 5/5. Yeah, that randomly deals points of damage. I want something more reliable than that. I don't want to play it just so that it dies. And if it does die, I'm pretty much going to have to play with a bad card if I ever want to turn it back. And maybe I don't even want to turn it back, but if I only ever wanted this side, why am I playing with Mana Crypt is the question. Don't like. Oja Kaslem. Oja's type of things. Right, I see. Oja's not a name. An Oja is a type of thing. Deepest Growth. This is the green one. It is a 9/9 for 16 mana. That's a little bit more like it, isn't it? When this card deals damage... Oh, hello. This is looking interesting. When this card deals damage to any opposing target... Pick and fetch one of the first 4 cards from your library. If it's a creature card, move it into play. Does anyone know if this triggers when it hits Greg? Because it's a little unclear from that first sentence. Yeah, if it has to hit a creature, it's obviously shit, isn't it? Because it doesn't hit creatures. But if it's going to trigger every time it hits Greg in the face, then that's pretty decent. I mean, looking at the first 4 cards, putting only a creature into play, that's not great. You're probably not going to be playing with more than 3 creatures in your deck. You should probably only be, I'll let you in on a little secret, you should probably only be playing with 1 creature in your deck ever, because creatures are so bad. But there are creatures that double up as other things. Blade Coil Serpent isn't really a creature, is it? You know. So, yeah. So what I'm saying is that, you know, this it's not fetching a creature every time. If you're only playing with 2 or 3 creatures in your deck, it's not fetching a creature every time. But that is a powerful effect, and it is a 16 mana 9/9. That's a decent enough clock, isn't it? And when it dies, you get to transform it into, presumably, a land that, at the beginning of the turn, shuffle the board. That's weird. Okay. Once again, I'm finding myself wondering if that's going to result in a match. I honestly don't know. If it can, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think shuffling the board, you'd think probably can result in a match. You get a match when you shuffle the board off rolling the dice, don't you? So yeah, so I honestly I have no idea. At the start of your turn, shuffle the board. I have no idea how good that is. I'm inclined to think it's okay. I'm inclined to think that it's going to make some matches. It's going to dig some Hixases out of corners. That's probably okay as a land. At the end of your turn, you may destroy this card. Transform this. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because normally you have to do some shitty thing to transform the card. You know, even the Bat God, you had to get down to one card in your hand. Whereas this thing just goes, oh, do you want your creature back? Ping! There you go. You can have your creature back. This is obviously good, isn't it? Obviously good. And full stop and move on. Yeah, you know. Yeah, it's the unreliability of pulling a creature out is the thing that concerns me. You know, if it could get like a creature and a support, it would be the most amazing thing. You know, if it was every turn it was going to pull something out of your library and put it into play, it would be phenomenal. And the fact that it's going to miss some turns knocks down its usability, but obviously a groovy thing. And I'm pretty sure that this backside of it is going to be quite useful. And if it's not quite useful, you can just go ping and put it back into play and start swinging away with it again. Yeah, that's a pretty great card, isn't it? Now here's the blue one. Obviously the blue one has to be the best one because that's just how it works. Hang on, I hear a knocking at my window. Just excuse me a second, please. I'm just busy at the moment, actually, Joy. Yeah, I might be free in a couple of hours or so, but I don't know if you'll still be up by then. Okay, then. I'll see you soon. Yeah, take care. That is my neighbour, just offering me coffee and cake. Damn, cake as well. I don't normally get cake at Joy's. Oh, wonder if it's not. Maybe she'll still be. What time is it? She's up late as well. She's up late like me. Maybe she'll still be up at midnight. Also, I'll go and see if her light's still on at midnight. Maybe I can get some cake today after all. Oh, while I'm talking about nice sweet things, I have put a can of Monster in the porch. Why the porch, Steve? Well, because the porch is cold because I don't heat it. And if I go to the kitchen while I'm streaming, sometimes it cuts off my internet access. Cheers! Lovely, lovely Monster at 10 o'clock in the evening. Mana Crypt Bug. If your first card can't gain mana, the next card won't gain mana, but you'll still lose life. That sounds like the kind of thing they might fix. I mean, they have fixed that issue in the past, haven't they? Specifically with Moxes. That if your first card can't gain mana, they made it give mana to the next card instead. They did change that, didn't they? At least on some Moxes, I believe. So they might fix the Mana Crypt thing. They might be too lazy to fix the Mana Crypt thing. Who knows? But something to watch out for. Still think Mana Crypt is great. Anyway, moving on with the blue one. I mean, the green one was really good, wasn't it? So imagine how good the blues one's going to be. Let's check it. When you cast a non-copy spell, exile. I like how this is going. Exile it at the beginning of your next turn. You may pick one of the first two different spell cards from your exile. If you do, create a copy of that spell in your hand. That card gains 4 mana. Well, I was just about to get quite excited by that, and then I noticed this is a fucking 19 mana 4/3. So you cast a spell, and it goes. I'm guessing it doesn't get exiled without obviously having any effect. That would be pointless, wouldn't it? So I cast a spell at you, and it fucks off into exile. And then I get to play it again on the next turn. It's rebound, isn't it? It's the old effect of the Magic the Gathering paper rebound effect, isn't it? So, I mean, that is nice. But it's on a 19 mana 4/3. So I'm afraid that means it's garbage. Let's have a look on the backside just for shits and giggles, shall we? When you cast a card for the first time during your turn, gain an extra swap. I mean, that's better than fucking converting the entire board as far as I'm like. Maybe it's not better than converting the entire... That's pretty good, isn't it? Do you know where it is? It's on the backside of a fucking 19 mana 4/3 though. Jesus. Then, if there are 4 or more blue gems, drain X mana from the first card in your opponent's hand. X is half the number of blue gems on the board, rounded down. I mean, that sounds fairly unreliable, doesn't it? We don't know if the drain seems like... The drain every so often is going to be great, but it's going to... You can never rely on it having any effect at all, basically, I think. Half the number of blue gems. Gaining an extra swap's nice, isn't it? If it wasn't on the backside of a 19 mana 4. At the end of your turn, you may destroy this card. Okay, so this one, we're just putting back into play... It's hard to say which side you'd want, really. But, you know, it all comes down to the fact that it is a 19 mana 4/3 and the green one is a 60. Oh, my fucking money back! How can the green one be better than the blue one? That's not how this game works! I want a refund right fucking now! Ode Attack. I think we've seen this one before, haven't we? I think this was on spoiler season. 7/7 for 17 mana. Do you know what that's better than? Yeah, you know. When a token creature you control attacks for the first time, reinforce it 3 times. It's the old good with Thopter Spy Network trap again, isn't it? When this creature dies, transform the card. So when a token creature attacks, reinforce it 3 times. I mean, you can put large tokens into play, can't you? I'm blanking on like good large tokens. Like, you know, Kiora puts like 8/8 tokens in with her ultimate, but she's not white, and nobody's getting excited about comboing expensive mythic with a fucking ultimate ability. Well, you shouldn't be anyway. I know there are players out there who do. You're like, oh, if I play these selection of cards with this thing that cost me 24 loyalty, then I'm going to win the game. Well, I would bloody hope you win the game. If you get to use 24 loyalty. At the beginning of your turn, convert 2 gems to loyalty gems. I don't really like that. I don't really like converting to loyalty. Especially just the 2 gems as well. The thing about converting to colours is you get mana and you get loyalty. Which is better. When a creature attacks, if you control 5 or more creature tokens, destroy this support. Right, which you're probably going to if this is triggered. But yeah, it's all just too combo-y for my liking. You know, you need this, you need some token supports. I'm not at all excited about comboing this with something with 1/1s. So, you know, if there happens to be a really nice cheat card out there that makes, whoa, really nice cheat card out there. Where is it? It's the blue one, isn't it? I shouldn't be doing this. It's going to be far too far away. Yeah, nice cheat card that makes large tokens. I mean, even that's not really large enough, is it? 3 mana for a 3/3. If I'm not getting excited about spending 3 mana on a 3/3 token to play this card, I'm never going to be satisfied, am I? Because that's a really good return on that. But I still think you're going to have to be putting a larger token out than a 3/3 to get excited by this card. I do not care. I'm not really playing any of those. Still like the green one best. Not really playing any of those. And Breathe. There you go. They all had the same name, so we had a selection of cards that might have been good all in a row now. Now we're back to the commons, so we have to reset our expectations. When this creature enters the battlefield, pick one of the first 2 different artifact cards from your graveyard. Go away. Altec Cloud Guard. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a gnome. 3/2, 6 mana. It's shit here. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'll be quite good for mastering with Nahiri. Nahiri's one of the planeswalkers I like to master shit commons with. She's good at pumping things up. If a card is good at mastery, it's a really good card, is it? A Razka Puzzle Door. At the end of your turn, increase this card's level by 1. This still counts as doing, even though you don't have to do a thing, still counts as just ticking up once every time you do a thing. I think, and I said this on Discord the other day, I think there should be cards that say, that tick up even if they're just in your library. And I think that would make some of these level cards that tick up better. Yeah? You don't have to find them and put them in your hand first or put them into play first. Because the ones that you just tick up while they're in the hand, they're supposed to be better, aren't they? And they're still shit. I think there should be cards that just tick up even if they're in your library and you've never drawn them yet. Cards that just say, if it's turn 5, this thing does 5 things. And if it's turn 7, this thing does 7 things. Or, for every artifact you've ever cast in this entire game before now, you get a certain number of things. Anyway, let's look at this actual card and not think about things that might have been better than it. At the beginning of your turn, you may pick one of the first 2 cards in your library. Fetch that card, it gains X mana. I mean, you can't make a card that looks this similar to Chimil and expect anyone to give a flying fuck about it, can you? X is this card's level. Otherwise, this card's level becomes 1. Damn, what a piece of shit. It's got 2 shields as well. Ixalan Landmark. Craft 1 artifact. Okay. Let's see what this one does. At the end of your turn, you may exile X. Oh no, I've clicked on the wrong thing. It's a 1/4 flying golem. A random creature you control without flying gets flying and first strike. It's not even going to give first strike to a flyer. It's a 1/4 golem. All that complexity just to put a 1/4 fucking golem in play. Oh, and you get to draw a card when it enters the board as well. Destroy an opposing artifact or enchantment support. That's too expensive! Come on, Demolish exists! You have to cost things like Demolish because it exists. You can't make things like this that cost 12 mana. Get your game together, Webcore. Yeah? It's important for you to learn that Octagon had no idea how to cost support removal. And they made all of it shit. Palani's Hatcher. When this creature enters the battlefield, create 3 dinosaur egg tokens. I'm guessing they don't all stack into the same token, yeah? They zop around the board. It's got 4 shields? Fuck off! You'd just assume, wouldn't you? It's got one, it's going to throw some dinosaur eggs, and when you match them one time, you get a dinosaur. You'd think, oh, okay. I'm not going to play with that, but we can talk about it. No, 4 fucking shields it's got. Jesus. When a dinosaur creature enters the battlefield, that creature gains haste. I'm guessing it's a dinosaur as well. I have tapped off the thing. When this creature attacks... Oh, right, okay. That's where you get the dinosaurs from. Destroy a random dinosaur support you control. So, that's very high shit tier then, isn't it? Okay, I was thinking that they'd all come into play as 1/1s. Instead, they all come into play as hard to kill, but it pops 1 off every turn. It's an extremely high shit tier card. And that's all there is to be said about that. Pathfinding Axejaw. Now, I love this. I mean, what the fuck is that? I mean, it even looks like something out of it. The style of the art, I mean, makes it look like something out of a children's book. Not just the fact that it's a dinosaur with a headlamp on. I love it. Oh, go back again, thank you. When this card enters the battlefield, explores 2, go away. Pirate Hat. The beginning of your turn, your first creature gets +2/+2 and Menace. Ooh, Menace. Menace is something they really like, isn't it? Octagon always like Menace. Let's give something Menace. That's more words, isn't it? More words if we write Menace on the card. No effect on anything, but it's got Menace now. Then if you control a pirate card, your first creature gets +4/+1. So we've potentially got an equipment that gives something +6/+6, which is okay for an equipment. You'd need to be playing with a pirate. I don't know if pirates are any good. I very much doubt it. I don't really care. I don't really want to talk about this card anymore. We're moving on. This pirate certainly isn't good enough, is it? 9 mana, 3/2, create a gold token. That's certainly not good enough pirate card. Poetic Ingenuity. That is Saheeli and Huatli, isn't it? Isn't that Huatli? I think that's Huatli. When a dinosaur creature you control attacks, create a gold token. When you cast a support card with the artifact subtype, create a red dinosaur token. So it does nothing! Does nothing on its own. It requires you to cast an artifact in order to do something. That's not... I guess that's not too hard, but it doesn't even have the decency to be an artifact itself. This effect can trigger up to 3 times. Right, I don't think anyone was dashing it. I mean, come on, like, you've let us build, at this point, you've let us build the combo deck, yeah? You've printed Captain Vance. You've let us build the combo deck. Don't get fucking coy with other combo cards. Yeah? We're slapping Captain Vance into decks, and we're slapping Blade Core Serpents into decks, and drawing cards, and gaining mana, and dealing damage. Don't get coy with other combo. Let people make other types of combo deck. How about that? Maybe combo deck players want to build a wide variety of combo decks. Maybe the challenge they got from building that first combo deck, they'd like to repeat with different cards, and not just build the same combo deck over and over. Poison Dart Frog. That's a cute little fella, isn't he? I want to pet him. This is a 9 mana 1/1 with reach. Oh, it might have Death Touch. Okay. I mean, I kind of don't mind. Like, we've seen in the past, we've seen like 6 mana 1/1s with like Berserker and Death Touch before. And I kind of don't mind that. It's not great. It's clearly not as great as actually just playing a card that kills a creature. But I kind of don't mind that. But giving it, you know, conditional Death Touch, no. When you make a match by swap, increase your mana bonus. When you make a match by swap, increase your mana bonus of the match colour by 2 until the end of your turn. Then this creature gains Death Touch. So let me get this straight. It's a 1/1 with reach. With reach that lets it block your opponent's creatures. And you can give it Death Touch on your turn. Genius. No notes. Perfect card. Yeah, put that whole bit about increasing the mana bonus, put that on a different card. Make it better. Put it on a different card. I'd like to see that on a better card. Not on a fucking Poison Dart Frog. Preacher of the Schism. When this creature attacks, create a vampire token. That's going to be a 1/1, isn't it? Oh, it's a 1/1 lifelink. Okay, fair enough. That's not a very fast way of generating tokens, though, is it? When a vampire creature you control attacks, your opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I mean, that's just a bit like having an extra vampire token, isn't it? But only, it's not doubling the size of the stack. It's just like having 1 extra vampire token on the stack. So we're still unimpressed. At the end of your turn, if you have full life, draw a card, then lose 3 life. Yeah. Obviously bad. And it's got Death Touch and it can't interact with your opponent. Although, strangely enough, I find that less offensive than the Poison Dart Frog, which can interact with your opponent, but chooses to do it at completely the wrong time. When this creature dies, discover 2. Yeah, that's not good. We don't want to discover 2 when it dies, especially when it's not interacting, and especially when you can just play Chimil for 17 mana. There are discover cards. Yeah. It's not good enough to make, you know, a couple of discover cards and then every other card Just be like much, much, much worse than those. That's not how you design for a mechanic. Pugnacious Hammerskull, 8 mana 10/10. Now we're talking. I guarantee when I read the text box on this card, there's going to be some positive bonus to this 8 mana 10/10. It's not just going to fucking die whenever it tries to attack or anything. Let's see what it does. When this creature attacks... Holy shit, it actually is as well. What? They've actually done it. They've actually made like a really massive creature that's cheap. Hang on a second. When this creature attacks, if you control another dinosaur creature, this creature... Oh no, this creature gets stun counter 1. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, so I thought he was giving away stun counters. I thought, oh my God, that's just like an amazing big clock. Beat down is back, baby! No, of course not. When this creature attacks... Right, so if you have another dinosaur creature, it barrels in and keeps hitting, and it's really good. If it doesn't, I think stun counter 1 means it attacks every other turn, doesn't it? Isn't that what it means? I mean, there's the possibility... You'd think that was the intent. There is the possibility that, like, it gains stun counter 1, and then on your next turn it loses stun counter 1 and is not stunned. So it doesn't matter that it gains stun counter 1. I mean, I'm still not going... Beatdown isn't actually back. Even if this was an 8 mana 10/10 that didn't stun itself every other turn, that's not good enough to bring Beatdown back, is it? But, you know... Thanks for trying. At least it doesn't kill itself. Usually really big things like that will kill something of yours every turn, won't they? And then eventually kill itself. Queen's Bay Paladin, 9 mana 5/4. Okay, when this creature attacks, return the first vampire creature. Fucking imminent death. Oh dear. This is, again, Webcore, please don't with the imminent death. Nobody likes imminent death. Don't be using imminent death just because it's there. That creature gains haste. It's just so not good enough, is it? You know? This is an effect in paper magic, giving something unearth, putting it in play for a single turn and letting attack for a single turn is the type of thing you can do in paper magic where your opponent has 20 life, but not in Magic Puzzle Quest where your opponent has 130. Next, Quicksand Whirlpool. The beginning of your turn, if this card is in your hand, reduces cost by X. X is the number of land supports and land support reinforcements on the board. Exile the last opposing creature. Clearly too expensive. But lands make it cheaper, Steve. Yeah, here's the thing. Lands are supposed to make everything cheaper. Lands even make the costs of good cards cheaper because they pay for the good cards. So this is very too expensive. Rampaging Ceratops. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if your opponent controls 3 or more creatures with base power 3 or less. Here's what I would have written on this card, and I think this would make it basically the same card, yeah? Nothing! That's what I'd have written on this card. Oh, what a fucking waste of everybody's time. It loses unblockable. I mean, what fucking words? All of those words for nothing. It's an 11 mana 5/4. That's it. That's what it is. It's an 11 mana 5/4. Ray of Ruin. I like the sound of a card called Ray, even before I've seen the text box. Just the sound of a card, Ray of Ruin. This is going to blow shit up, isn't it? Destroy the first opposing non-token creature. Like it. Untargeted. Like it. It's a shame it doesn't hit token creatures, but that's not a huge problem. If you can't destroy a vehicle support, do you think they thought they meant Vanguard there? It is possible that they did mean vehicle. It is possible. If you can't destroy an opposing non-land support. I mean, yeah. That's fine, isn't it? It's 11 mana. I mean, this is certainly... I've been playing with fucking bounce spells in Colours of Magic. This is kind of the removal spell that Colours of Magic has been crying out for, hasn't it? It's an absolute staple, I'm sure, in that format. Straight away. As for other formats, I mean, it's a worse Void Rend, isn't it, in other formats? That's the thing. There's better than this in other formats. But, you know, yes, it's good for Colours of Magic because it costs exactly 11 mana. And I haven't got a problem with it being a thing. Let us move along. Relics Raw. Oh, talking of Colours of Magic, actually, I have seen this one before because I think I actually own... This is one of the 12 or so cards I actually own from this set, having opened some free boosters. The base power and toughness of target creature you control become 6/4 until end of turn. Then it gains the dinosaur subtype. Now, cards like this are good actually for Colours of Magic, and the reason is that one of the nodes in Colours of Magic, and it's the correct node as well, it's the less than 11 mana and not the more than 11 mana one. It would be bad in the more than 11 mana one. But in the less than 11 mana one, you can create Thopter tokens. And in fact, my primary way of attacking my opponent, given that creatures are all shit. Creatures are pretty bad, actually, in these in Colours of Magic these days. Since they got rid of Paladin class, which used to win too quick. It was that good. My primary way of attacking in Colours of Magic is Thopter tokens. And I am currently playing with a card that will transform all my Thopter tokens into larger things. I believe it's called Majestic Misinformation. I can't remember what it's called. But we have two cards at the moment. There's a card that makes all of your base power and toughness on a stack of creatures 4/4 and draw a card. That's the one that I've been playing with. There's one that makes them 5/5s, doesn't draw a card. I like drawing cards, so I'm playing with the draw a card one, even though they makes them smaller. And this makes them 6/4. So, yeah, it's a little bigger again than 5/5. Maybe I like 6/4 more than I like 4/4 on a card. So maybe I'll end up playing with this. But that's the type of place that I would play it in. You know, otherwise, you're basically just making Thopter Spy Network better. With all of that entails. Where are we next? River Herald Guide. The beginning of turn, if you control another merfolk, this creature explores. Explore it really feels like a thing that's just written on cards for the sake of being... I mean, it's not as worthless as fucking Recruit, is it? But Explore is lacking a killer app, isn't it? It's lacking a card that goes, oh, that's the one card that you made that made Explore worth it. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see any cards that make Explore worth it. I mean, they didn't have to code it. They've copied Explore from the last Ixalan set, haven't they? So, I mean, there is that. They haven't wasted their time by coding it, but they have kind of wasted our time by writing it on cards. River Herald Scout. Oh, here we go again. We're exploring again. Type creature you control explores 1. Right, yeah, basically the same thing. Here we have a 1/1 lifelinker. If you descended this turn, draw a card. Nope, no thank you. Deal X damage to target creature. X is the number of land supports you control. I mean, honestly, if you control enough lands for this to be a good card, you're absolutely killing the current game that you're playing, and you don't need this fucking terrible card, you know? Bad, 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 bad. Again, this is presumably a port over from paper where damage equal to the number of lands you have in play has a real meaning. And it really doesn't. Just please, people, learn that there is a difference between paper and Puzzle Quest. What do we have here? When this support enters the board, deals 6 damage to target creature. There you go, some colourless removal that has cycling. I mean, it's not good enough, is it? But it's kind of getting there. It's going in that direction. You know, a situational card is exactly the type of thing you do want to have cycling. Cycling 3 is a bit expensive, but I mean, I get it. Everything used to be cycling 1, and then the whole game broke because of it. So yeah, I'm not too offended by this card, even though, you know, I hate burn, but I'm not too offended by this card. It's got some cycling, it's got some flash. But, you know, imagine what it would be like if it just killed the creature. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Saheeli's Lattice. Craft 2 Dinosaur. That doesn't look anything like... Is that supposed to be Saheeli? Doesn't look anything like Saheeli. I don't mind the art, though. It's decent enough art. Craft 2 Dinosaur seems bad. Doesn't it? Doesn't it seem terrible? Name me 2 dinosaurs you'd like to craft. Yeah? You're not going to be crafting. Don't lie to me and say you're going to be crafting your Galta. You're not going to. You're going to be playing that bad boy. You're going to want a massive, massive dinosaur in play, converting gems. You're not going to be crafting it. Anyway, you get to have one of these. It's a 1/4 again. This creature's power becomes X. X is the number of dinosaur cards. So essentially, this is a card that allows you to turn your dinosaurs into much worse dinosaurs. I don't think you can even, because of the way craft is written, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work with cycling, is it? It sounds like it doesn't work with cycling. You have to, like, specifically... Well, I don't know. Maybe it does. Like, we're all used to exiling cards with cycling during the turn. And this exiles at the end of turn. But it is still possible that when it exiles at the end of turn, you will be able to cycle it. But I really think that this is just turning your dinosaurs into much, much smaller dinosaurs. What is the fucking point of that? I'd love to see the paper version. There must be some point to the paper version. I mean, the paper version might be bad. They do deliberately print 1 or 2 bad cards in paper, you know? There's a whole article about why there should be at least some bad cards in paper. Octagon, unfortunately, really took that to heart and made sure that 90% of the cards that they printed were utterly worthless. Sanguine Evangelist. Sanguine Evangelist. That's quite nice to say. When your first creature attacks, okay, might be this one, your other creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. Oh, that's a good way of doing bravery, isn't it? I don't even mind that as a way of doing bravery. When your first creature attacks, yeah? So if this is in play, that's always going to trigger. It's always going to trigger, yeah? No matter where it is, if you've got 2 creatures with these abilities, they're not going to trigger in the wrong order, like when you have 2 different creatures with bravery, like what happened to me in Jumpstart the other week. That's a good way of writing bravery. I fucking hate bravery so much! Cowards can't block warriors. Your other creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. When this creature enters the battlefield or dies, create a bat token. Yeah, just not enough on there, is there? But I like the wording. Yeah, get rid of bravery, put that on cards instead. Then I'll be happy. If all that card achieves is the death of bravery, that will suddenly become one of my favourite cards, even if I never play it. Screaming Phantom. When this creature attacks, destroy the top 1 cards of your library. I mean, that's clearly not enough. Scytheclaw Raptor. 17 mana 2/3. Wow. When your opponent casts or copies a creature card, your opponent loses life equal to this creature's power. 2. He loses 2 power. When he casts a creature card, he loses 2 power. When your opponent casts or copies a spell card, your opponent loses life equal to this creature power. 2. When your opponent casts or copies a support card, your opponent loses life equal to this creature's power. I mean, it's just too expensive, isn't it? I was saying the other day that we needed some hate bears. But a 17 mana 2/3 is not a hate bear. I'm not saying that there should be a 10 mana 8/8 that does this. That would be a bit too oppressive for the combo players, you know? But this is way too expensive for way not enough power. Seeker of Sunlight. Yeah, there's some exploring going on again, as usual. You match 3 or more gems, yeah, whatever. Self-reflection. Choose target creature. Create a token that is a copy of that card into the battlefield under your control. I mean, that seems too expensive to me, doesn't it? Even copying your Galters, that seems too expensive to me. My spike senses certainly aren't triggering. I don't know about any of the Johnnies out there. Seems too expensive. City Sentinel of the Nameless City. Oh, do you know what we haven't seen? We haven't seen the City's Blessing. Now that is a mechanic that I really hated in Ixalan, in Puzzle Quest anyway. Like, there was a point to it in paper, you know, especially in, you know, draft games. You would naturally get up close to 10 cards on about turn 4, 5, 6, depending on what tokens you were playing, and of course a land coming into play every turn. But in not only was it shit in Puzzle Quest, because it's a completely different game, but it also meant they started writing reinforcements. And as soon as that was the beginning of the end for me. As soon as they started writing reinforcements, that's the beginning of a big slippery slope that leads all the way down. You know where? Yeah, that's right, to fucking imminent death. That's where. So, I mean, I get it. It is nice that a Killer Instinct doesn't kill your creature completely, and that you can, you know, put like maybe a Hangerback Walker into play and it only kills one of the reinforcements. But for that one card where having the number of reinforcements written on the card matters, there's hundreds of other ones where it just sits there being really ugly, like the fucking tap symbol. It's the absolute nadir of design as far as I'm concerned in this game. Anyway, this card doesn't even have the City's Blessing, so moving on. When this creature enters the battlefield, reinforce this creature X times. X is the number of artifact cards you control, including their reinforcements. When this creature attacks, gain 2 map tokens. Okay, so I was going to ask whether the map tokens that were created when it comes into play, whether they counted to pump it, but it doesn't create map tokens when it comes into play. It creates them when it attacks. So, yeah, so I mean, I definitely don't care. But, I mean, I don't know what to say. What do you say about these cards? There's a problem with high shit tier cards that are built around, in that the whole definition of high shit tier cards is you're throwing. Nobody wants to spend time building mastery decks. Yeah? Cards that are not good enough to play with and yet are build arounds are just a massive waste of everybody's time. It's not good enough. Maybe somebody's having fun out there building this with gold tokens. If you want to give somebody a good fun time playing with gold tokens, though, print cards like old Gnawbones. That'll give people a good fucking fun time playing with gold tokens. They will love you then. Shauku Endbringer. Now, I remember this from Mirage. I started playing Paper back when the Dark came out. I just missed Legends. And Shauku was one of the rare cards. We didn't even have Mythics back then, did we? Shauku was one of the rare cards. I have seen this card already, and I think Webcore have misunderstood the paper card, to be perfectly honest. Let's get into it. At the beginning of your turn, if you control another creature, this creature can't attack. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you control another vampire, reinforce this creature. Not particularly interesting. Single reinforcement. At the end of your turn, if this creature doesn't attack, exile target creature. Then this creature gets +X +X. X is the number of cards in all exiles. So I think they could have made this like the paper version. What the paper version does is, if there's any other creatures in play, then you can't attack. but you can kill a creature every turn. I think you tap it to kill a creature in paper. Yeah? If there's another creature in play, you kill that creature, and then when you finally got rid of all of your opponent's creatures, which is something you generally like doing, you know, blowing up all your opponent's creatures, that's fine. When you finally got rid of them, then you finally attack with it. And I think that would have been fine on this card. But what this card does instead is that you have to have another creature in play. And that's the thing that triggers it not attacking. And that's the thing that triggers it exiling one of your opponent's creatures. Yeah. In paper, I can just play Xiaoku. And you can have a ton of creatures. All I need in play is Xiaoku, and it will pop one of your creatures off every turn. Which is something I'd like to do. I like killing one of my opponent's creatures every single turn. It's quite good, isn't it? I like playing with Rankle. It's quite good. But in Puzzle Quest, I need to have a second creature as well. And I don't like that. And I mean, who knows? Maybe it would have even been worth playing with if it had worked like the paper version. But I am almost positive that it's not worth playing with like this. Shame that. Skullcap Snail. That is a decent piece of artwork, isn't it? I like that artwork. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile the first card without mana from your opponent's hand. Clearly rubbish. Song of Stupefaction. Oh, how about it? How about, why don't we just have a nice cheap creature that just goes pow, blows up the first card in your hand, regardless of what it is. Yeah? For 5 mana. We could actually have a conversation about that, couldn't we? Yeah? Without mana, no. I'm afraid that's not good enough. When this support enters the board, destroy the top 3 cards of target player's library. Not enough. Descend 2 at the beginning of your turn. Okay, so it does at least trigger every turn, but the whole package is just not good enough. And so we move along. Sovereign Okinek Ahau. 12 mana 3/4. Bit small. Ward 6 mana. At the beginning of combat on your turn, your creatures get +X/+X. X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Okay, so if you've got just this, it's doubling up to 6/4. Yeah. Haven't we got a better version of this? Didn't we have a 10 mana 8/8? I'm going to go and have a look. It was right near the start. It was called something like Bloodletter of Azkalas. That's what it was called. Bloodletter of Alcatraz. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, double that damage. I mean, I suppose it's about the same. 10 mana 4/5, 12 mana 3 something. It's about the same, isn't it? I mean, I don't care about either one. So, you know, whatever. High shit tier to me. The other one's better. So there's not much point that one existing, really. Spelunking. Is that a pun? I want that to be a pun. I want that guy in the picture to be the Spelunking. Yeah? I don't think he is. I think he is spelunking. But I want him to be the Spelunking. When this support enters the board, draw a card. If you have a land card in your hand that gains mana, that card gains half its mana. Yeah, that's bad. At the beginning of your turn, gain a map token that does a little bit of exploring. Yeah, we don't care. Spring-loaded saw blades. Oh, nice. This is a bit of a Zendikar vibe, isn't it? Really? Like, we didn't really have, Indiana Jones traps in Ixalan before. They were all for Zendikar, was the Indiana Jones plane. Nom 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 nom. A little bit of monster there. Hang on, just going to tap on the side of my PC again. There we go. Craft 1 artifact. When this support enters the board, 5 damage to an opposing creature. Right. And we get a Blade Wheel Chariot. If you control a creature with power 2 or greater, your first creature gets +4/+4. I mean, I guess we're approaching, it's certainly better than the bad cards we've seen. We're approaching something there. Not good enough. I mean, I think there's kind of there might even be kind of an inherent problem with just like making these commons and uncommons that are better than we've had in the past, but still not good enough for anyone to care about with when playing standard events. Yeah, because there is one argument, as far as I can tell, there is one argument for carrying on making shit uncommons and commons, which is that you want to give new players the same experience playing story mode that we all had when we started playing. Do you remember playing story mode when you started playing? You'd be playing with Rocks Maulers and Conclave Naturalist, not such a bad card to be perfectly honest. And but just generally shitty low cards, none of which I can remember the name of at the moment. And if you make cards like this, what they do is they're so much better for brand new players. They kind of wreck the experience of playing story mode a bit. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they don't wreck the experience of playing story mode at all, but. Well, that's the thing. I think there's kind of a problem just making these cards, the commons and uncommons, just slightly more powerful, but not enough so that anybody actually cares. Spyglass Siren, create a map token. Nope. Squirming Emergence. Oh, that's quite fun to say. It's like Drooling Grudian, isn't it? Drooling Grudian was a card in one of the Ravnica sets. Squirming Emergence. That's quite fun to say. And I like, I don't particularly like the execution of the art, but I just, like the octopus skull pirate hat thing, whatever is going on there. I quite like that. Descend 4. Oh, well, fuck off then. Convert 3 gems to green. I mean, fuck right off. Who thought this was good? I mean, the answer to that is clearly nobody. This has obviously just been shat out by somebody who does not care. Thanks, Webcore. Stalactite Stalker. 7 mana, 1/1. If you descend, it gets +1/+1. I mean, at least the artwork on this one is quite good. Yeah, I quite like the artwork on that one, actually. He's got like he's got a skull thing going on his wrist, When this creature dies or loses a reinforcement, all opposing creatures get -X/-X permanently. X is this creature's power. No, obviously not. I want to see some more -X/-X effects. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure I'd ever actually use them, but I want to see them, but not on that card. Starving Revenants. And that's clearly a robot, isn't it? What is going on? That is a bizarro art. I like it though. Oh, this is 11 mana. Maybe this will be a Colours of Magic card. Descend 3. Oh, well, I guess not. When you draw a card, if your descend support level is 3 or more, your opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Right, so let's basically ignore that. We've got an 11 mana 5/5 with Surveil 2. I mean, I think we've seen better than that, haven't we? Have we seen better than that? I don't know. I mean, creatures are pretty shit in Colours of Magic. Certainly in the 11 or more node. But I think we can do better than that one, probably. I don't know. I've had problems finding creatures for Colours of Magic before. It seems like ages since we last played it. Run a Colours of Magic! Webcore? Oh, I like Colours of Magic. I still do. It's the one event you've managed to not fuck up yet. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll end up playing that in Colours of Magic just because creatures are generally so bad in that format. But it's it doesn't seem like it's going to be a playable one. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, even if it is, even if this turns out to be one of the cards that I end up putting in my deck. That doesn't mean it's good by any stretch of the imagination. Staunch Crewmate. When this card enters the battlefield, pick one of the first 4 pirate or artifact cards from your library, fetch that card, don't put any mana in it, and therefore we don't care. Stinging Cave Crawler. Oh, it looks like it, doesn't it? It looks like it, the big spidery it, when it had stopped being Tim Curry for a while. I don't know why anyone would stop being Tim Curry. If you were Tim Curry, you'd be Tim Curry all the time, wouldn't you? I mean, I would. Descend 4. Fuck off. I mean, yeah, though it doesn't actually do any things. Subterranean Schooner does the pilot thing. At the beginning of your turn, creatures with pilot get +6/+3. Yeah, I mean, there's that basic problem here, is that this is giving something pilot, but then if that creature dies, there's no way of it giving something pilot again, is there? Is that right? Once creature enters the battlefield... Oh no, so crew 3 is not relevant. This card may receive effects from vehicle cards with crew value. Yeah, so I mean this, even though this is an equipment and it gives something +6/+3 and explores 2, but then when the creature dies, it kind of stops working as an equipment on your other creatures, and so why would you want to play with an equipment like that? Sort it out. Craft 2 creature. The beginning of your turn, convert 4 gems to your Planeswalker's colours. That's not bad, is it? That's not bad. It's 14 mana. That's a little on the expensive side. I mean, it's not Mana Crypt, is it? Well, I don't know. Maybe it is Mana Crypt. After we've crafted 2 creature, that's not cheap, but it's doable, crafting 2 creature. Let's see what we've got. We've got Flying, Vigilance, Haste. At the beginning of your turn, this creature gets +X/+X. X is the number of different creatures in your graveyard. It's okay. 4 gems to your Planeswalker's colours is better than basically any land we've got at the moment. But 14 mana is a bit expensive for it, Arixmathes used to do 4 and 4, didn't it, for 12? I mean, I know I shouldn't compare it. That was a bit broken, wasn't it? But it's just a bit too expensive for my liking. I like the 4 gems. The 14 mana is a bit too expensive for my liking. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, I guess it's all right. At the beginning of your turn, plus first creature, +3/+0. It's a 2 mana with 1 shield. When your first creature attacks, you may destroy this card, deal 2 damage. I don't even know what they were trying to do with that. It's not good, is it? Sunken Citadel. When it enters the board, convert 7 gems to the most present colour on the board. Okay. So we're hoping to get a bit of a cascade there. I mean, we're not going to get cascade as easily as we do with Cut Your Losses, are we? Because that's more gems for less mana. And of course, we're converting those gems as we cast this spell. So we don't necessarily, if we miss the match, we don't necessarily get the chance to take advantage on it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't like that. At the beginning of turn, increase all your positive mana bonuses by 2. Yeah, I'm unimpressed by that. As a package, you get that initial burst of mana. You get kind of general mana bonus increases. As a whole package, I am unimpressed. Swashbuckler's Whip. When this support enters the board, discover 2. Well, it is a bit 15 mana 2/2, isn't it? Oh, well, discover 2, then discover 2. Really, I should have read that. So given that it always does both of those things, I should have read that sentence. I mean, anyone seen Chimel at all? Anyone remember Chimel? It costs 17 mana and does 2 discover 4s every single turn. So yeah, who's going to really care about that? Yeah. Why? Why? It annoys me when they make cards like this. You know, obviously it's not bad, but it's you would never play it compared to that other card, and so it's a waste of time. Synapse Necromate. I don't know what the hell's going on this fucking picture. I think I like it. Do I like? I'm not even sure if I like the art. I can't even tell if I like the art. When it dies, 2 funguses. Yeah, that's rubbish. Tarian's Journal. Activate 2, discard your hand, then transform this card. Well, the other side of this card is going to have to be really good. Strap yourselves in, boys. I'm going to take a big old swig of Monster. And let's see what we put on the back side of this card. That not only, let's not forget, this not only makes you discard. So I'm just wiping my screen if you're wondering why things are scrolling around. There we go. Not only do we have to discard our entire hand, but we also have to hit one of 2 activate 2 gems. So it's pretty bad. What do we want on the other? I mean, if it says you win the game, how about that? If it says you win the game instantly on the other side, maybe we'll go with this card. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to black. Activate 1. Drain 9 mana from your hand if you do the first creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a Clive card, isn't it? You know, again, Clive got the axe when Kevin got the axe. Clive was the game designer. He used to work at Octagon. He used to get really excited by synergy because he'd write 2 really shit things on a card and imagine that they worked well with each other. So I don't know who's working there now who does it, but they're wetting themselves when they thought about this. Oh, not only do you discard your hand, but look, you get to put all those cards back into play without even paying for them this time. Wetting themselves about that. But yeah, it's a piece of shit. Absolute piece of shit, that card. When a creature or artifact card you control is destroyed or loses reinforcement, your first creature gets +5/+5. Then your first creature gets vigilance. I mean, I don't care. I don't know about you. Tectonic Hazard, 2 damage to each opposing creature, 3 damage to opponent's planeswalker, 10 mana. Wow, too expensive. 20 gems to green. Okay, now 25 mana is a bit expensive, isn't it? I think Galter is 25 mana, isn't it? He's doing a big old amount of conversion. How much is Galter converting? I thought he was 15. How much is he? Let's just whip back to... What? Where's G in the alphabet? I've completely gone bizarre. Galter. 15. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, and 24 mana. But you did get a 15/15 on the back of that. So that's what we're comparing this to. But I mean, we're also basically comparing it to the best mana conversion spells in Legacy, kind of, aren't we? They tend to be a little bit cheaper at 20 mana. You've got Nissa's Renewal. I shouldn't be talking while I'm doing it. If I can't find a card when I'm actually looking for a card, I shouldn't be talking while I'm looking for a card. There's no way my brain can cope with that. Seasons Past as well costs 20 mana, doesn't it? So a little bit more expensive. However, there's more on this. We're converting 20 gems to green. When you cast this spell, discover 4. Now, you've got to imagine that it converts the gems and then discovers 4, haven't you? Obviously, it would be nicer if it discovered 4 and then converted the gems. But you've got to imagine that it will convert the gems and then discover 4. Not a huge problem. It would just be nicer the other way around. That's all. When you cast this spell, discover 4. Then you have 4 or less cards in your hand. Discover 4. I mean, there's kind of nothing wrong with that, is there? It's just a bit on the expensive side. Greg's going to play this against me, and it's going to be a real problem, you know? But 25 mana is a lot. Isn't it? 25 mana is a lot. So, well, I prefer Galta to this. I'm probably, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm more worried about Greg casting this or Galta. Of course, I should be worried about both those things because really, the kind of player who's going to play with Galta is going to play with this as well. There are going to be problems, you know. There are going to be players in this new round of Standard who are going to use a Mana Crypt to pay for Attempt with Discovery or a Galta and drop their entire hand on turn 2 or 3. And that's going to be very, very difficult to recover from. So we're all going to have to really watch out for Standard at the moment. Yeah, it's a good card, isn't it? It's obviously a good card. It is a bunch of mana conversion, so it's very, very unlikely to whiff. And you're probably going to get, well, I don't know if you're going to get 2 cards. You're going to get 1 card. I'm not sure if you're going to get 2 cards. I mean, you're almost certainly not going to get 2 cards in Legacy, are you? Because you're playing with Prism Array, aren't you? Or you're playing, or at least you're playing with Song of Creation, or you're playing with Wizard class, so you've probably always got 6 cards in your hand anyway. Yeah, it's a card. You play it, you get a card back, maybe you get another card back. It's quite good. Doubt I'm going to play with that one. Tendril of the Myco Tyrant. This is a 13 mana 2/2. At the beginning, your fungus creature get +3/+2 and Death Touch, which is irrelevant if it doesn't interact in combat. If you matched green gems, target creature you control gains the fungus subtype. Well, I mean, this guy just loves giving abilities that nobody gives a shit about to creatures, doesn't he? Terror Tide. All opposing creatures get -X. X is the number of cards in your graveyard. I mean, it's okay. It costs 11 mana, so it's playable in Colours of Magic. I just wonder if it's even possible. What does Discover? Does Discover puts the cards at the bottom of your library, doesn't it? Not into your graveyard. I mean, it's not easy to dump a huge amount of cards into your graveyard, you know? I'm playing Ral in Standard. I play with Time Reversal. That's a way to dump cards into the graveyard. I rely on Ral's first ability. And then, of course, there's just playing some cards, which put card into your graveyard. Yeah, so I feel like I'm not going to play with this. I feel like I'm too worried about, like, you know, we're in a Standard now where, I mean, let's face it, we win all of our games. We win almost all of our games. The only ones you need to worry about are where Greg gets lucky. And if Greg gets lucky, he's going to play a Galta, and this thing's not going to kill it. Yeah. So that's the thing. You only want to be putting cards in your deck that help you win that game where things go catastrophically badly wrong. And this isn't it, I'm afraid. Oh, look at that! It's not until end of turn. It does at least have the decency to be permanent. Or maybe I like it a little bit more now. I'm still not going to play with it. I like it a little bit more than I did. I can't imagine it being good on Colours of Magic, to be honest, because it's kind of difficult to put cards into your graveyard. Then again, you can play with Dakon, you know. You can play with, I don't know, I'm guessing there's other Planeswalkers that help you dump your cards from your library into your graveyard, aren't there? What does Ashiok 2 do? What do any of the Kayas do? I honestly don't know. I never play with them. So, yeah, it's okay. I don't mind it. Look at that. It's weird. Look, this card cannot currently be obtained from card packs. They've hidden removal spells behind a paywall. That's weird, isn't it? Isn't that weird? Timmies don't care about removal cards. Timmies want the Galtas and shit like that. Make them pay for that shit. That's the thing people pay for. I'm not going to be paying for this. It's a weird thing to do, is to hide the removal cards behind the paywall, I think. I mean, maybe it's a prize in an upcoming event. Maybe that's why it can't currently be obtained from card packs, but I kind of doubt it. I don't know. We will see. What do we have here? We have an 11 mana 8/8 with Defender. That's almost big enough, isn't it? You know, normally Defenders are just way, way too small. 11 mana 8/8 is okay. It is definitely not big enough to kill a Gaia's Revenge, and that, I think, is a problem. That would impact even before we've read any of that shit on the card under where it says Descend 4. Not being big enough to kill a Gaia's Revenge is definitely going to be a problem. At the beginning of your turn, Defend 4. This creature loses Defender and gains Leader Spirit. That's weird. It doesn't actually create any spirits, does it? Activate 3 blue or black, discard a card, then draw a card. Then your opponent, oh hello, then your opponent discards each other card of their hand that has the same base cost as a discarded card. Yeah, that's just not going to happen, is it? That's a shame. Interesting idea. I'd like to see some kind of targeted discard effect turn up. But having to match the mana cost is not going to happen at all, is it? Utterly, utterly unreliable. Activate 3 is pretty bad. Weirdly enough, the only thing I like about this is the fact it's a cheap 8/8 Defender. And like I say, it really suffers from the fact that it can't kill a GR. So it's, yeah, high shit tier, that one, I'm afraid. Why does it have Leader Spirit if it's not going to gain any spirit tokens? It doesn't put any spirit tokens into play. I mean, I guess there might be Planeswalkers that create spirits. Are there Planeswalkers that create spirits? Yeah, and every time you put a 1/1 spirit into play, bam, this gets another 8/8. Why would it lose Defender if it did? Surely we'd want it to be. If you were pumping it up to ungodly sizes, you would want it to keep Defender. This whole card is just bizarre. And unfortunately not good enough to play. And even at high shit tier, you know, again, even if we're thinking at just high shit tier levels, the problem with cards like that with huge Defenders in Mastery is they tend to get smacked into by 2/2s and 3/3s and drop dead. And you kind of don't want that when you're mastering cards. So, yeah. Just everything conspires to make this card very underwhelming. And fucking Descend 4, Jesus. The Belligerent. What kind of name is that for a vessel? It's a weird name for a vessel, isn't it? So this is doing the pilot thing again. Do you think it's an oversight? Do you think they think that it works like equipment and they just haven't bothered to read their own card text? Because I really do. So creatures you control with pilot 3 or greater +5/+5. Okay, when your first creature attacks. So this is at least a thing that always triggers. It's an 11/11. When your first creature attacks, you get a gold token, you draw a card, it gains 5 mana. Every single turn. It's okay. It's worse than other things, isn't it? It's the thing, you know. I'd much rather have an Inti, thank you very much. And of course, you know, if all your creatures die, you end up with this card sitting in play that's not drawing you a card every turn, gaining 5 mana. So, yeah, I won't be playing with that. Don't think much of it. The Enigma Jewel is a craft 3 artifact again. Can they really be? Can the paper version? I'm going to have a look, you know. I'm going to go and have a look online. I'm going to do this on my PC because it's faster. Sorry, I know it means you won't be able to see this. The Enigma Jewel I'm going to type in. I'm going to just have a quick look at the paper version of this and see if it's craft 3 artifact. Craft with 4 or more non-lands with activated abilities. Exile the 4 or more from among other permanents you control and or cards in the graveyard. Right, so they've completely changed it. So they deserve all the scorn for cards that say craft 3 artifacts, because crafting in paper specifically works from everywhere except your hand. It works for cards in play, it works on things in the graveyard, it does not work for things in hand. So crafting 3 artifacts from your hand is something that Webcore have dreamt up themselves, and they deserve all the scorn for. The beginning of your turn, each artifact card in your hand gains 3 mana. I mean, that's nice. I don't mind every artifact card in my hand gaining 3 mana, but it's a bit pointless considering I'm going to have to throw all of them away! And then we're going to get a Locus of Enlightenment. What does this do? When you cast an artifact card for the first time each turn, as long as you control a support with 6 or more shield, oh, for fuck's sake, create a copy of that artifact card in your hand. That copy gains full mana. I mean, I'm not seeing anything exciting. What's a good artifact card? Someone know, tell me a good artifact card. Is Blade Coil Serpent an artifact? Maybe Blade Coil Serpent's an artifact. Actually, I'm going to check. Oh, in fact, I can check right in here, can't I? Blade. I'm sure I've tripped up before on what Blade Coil. Oh, what? On what it is. It is an artifact. Okay, so there is actually an artifact you might want to copy. That is a creature, because of course if you copy a support, it's just going to reinforce. Oops. It's going to reinforce the support that was there, isn't it? Where were we? We were at the Enigma Jewel. We were looking at Locus of Enlightenment. But you need to have an artifact with 6 supports or more. You know? Meanwhile, your opponent is playing Tempt with whatever it was called, and Galters, and converting mana gems all the time, and knocking down the supports of your artifacts. So this Enigma Jewel is not going to stay sitting around at 4, is it? Because Galter's going to be going BAM! Knocking it down, and also, you know, killing you while it's at it. So it's a lot of hoops, isn't it? I haven't said hoops today. You can cross hoops off on your bingo cards. A lot of hoops to be jumping through to get another Blade Coil. There are better ways of getting other Blade Coils. Do you know what a good way of getting more Blade Coils is? Casting a Blade Coil. That's what a good way of doing that is. I'm afraid I don't like the Enigma Jewel. Does anyone like the Enigma Jewel? I can't remember. I seem to vaguely recall Gods was fairly complimentary about it. I mean, he didn't laugh like a drain like he did with Captain Vance. I seem to remember him being vaguely complimentary about Enigma Jewel. He was probably just doing that to be nice to Webcore so they'd give him more cards to review. Webcore never give me cards to review. Funny that, isn't it? But I really don't think I like the Enigma Jewel. Sorry! Let me just put back... Where are the Everflowing Well? This card cannot be obtained. Descend 5. Strong Opener. At the beginning of your turn, transform. Okay. When this card enters the battlefield, destroy the top 4 cards of each player's library, then draw 2 cards. So 8 mana, draw 2 cards. That's what that does. And then hidden away, we have 3 gems to blue. Then create a copy in your hand of the top card of your library. I mean, that basically just means draw a card, doesn't it? There are subtleties to it, but that's basically just saying, I mean, quite big subtleties. They're hardly subtle, you know, copying a card. But it is basically, you know, from my point of view, that's exactly the same power level as just drawing a card. So here's a card I just designed. Okay, it's not called the Everflowing Well. The card that I just designed is called the Myriad Pools, yeah? What you do is you pay 8 mana, you put it into play, yeah? You convert 3 gems to blue, and then, this is the really clever bit, at the start of your turn, you create a copy in your hand of the top card of your library. And that's it. That's the whole card. It doesn't seem too broken, does it? No? Well, Webcore think that's very broken, and they think that card needs to be hidden away on the back of a card with Descend 5. Ugh. Get fucked. The Millennium Calendar. At the beginning of your turn, increase this card's level by 10. Okay. If this card's level is 100 or more, okay. They're determined. This is about being determined not to cheat this, isn't it? You know, there are things, aren't there, like Grandmaster of Flowers that will let you pump the levels of things up. So the thing about making it 10 and 100 and not 1 and 10 is just being determined not to cheat it. If this card's level is 100 or more, deal 100 damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. So what I'm seeing is a card that does nothing for 10 turns. And then it deals 100 damage to my opponent's Planeswalker. Are you excited by this? See, this is what I'd like. I think I'd prefer, instead of a card that does no damage for 10 turns and then maybe gets blown up as you're going along, how about this? A card that does 10 damage every turn. How about that? That's all right, isn't it? I mean, strictly speaking, it takes slightly longer to kill your opponent if he's got 130 life than this card would. But how about a card that does 10 damage every turn? I'll tell you what, you could put it like just above the gem board, yeah? You know, with the artwork, and then some background artwork appears. You could put it like just there, above the gem board, yeah? You can put write the 10 on it so you know what it is. Let's write another note. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm being very funny and clever here, and I'm saying I'd much rather play a creature with 10 power. And I think we all would, wouldn't we? I mean, I guess this isn't bad enough to be offensive. But I would rather play a creature. I don't really want something that does nothing for 10 turns, giving Greg the chance to blow it up with no effect, when I could have been having some effect. And then if he kills it after 5 turns, at least I've done 5 turns worth of damage. I guess I'm not offended by that card existing, but I don't like it. When this creature enters the battlefield, this creature gets +X/+X. Excuse me a second, I'm just going to have to whip my jumper off. It's getting quite warm in here. I've got the heating blasting on. Maybe I should turn that down. That would be a sensible thing to do. X is the number of fungus cards you control, including their reinforcements, plus the number of fungus cards in your graveyard. I mean, I've got to be honest, it's not going to be many, is it? If there's a fungus deck, I will eat my fucking hat, frankly. If you really can play with the synergy of all of the different fungus cards that we've seen so far. Maybe we're only at card 198 of 225. Maybe there's going to be loads of fungus cards in the last 27 cards of the set that we haven't seen yet. But I'm going to put money on the fact that there aren't. When another fungus or sapling creature enters the battlefield, reinforce this creature. Oh, so it gets another +1/+1. Thanks very much. That's lovely of you. At the end of turn, your opponent loses X life. X is the number of fungus and sapling creatures you control. So they've forgotten to do the thing there, haven't they, where they wrote including their reinforcement. See, again, I hate this including their reinforcement thing. It's one of those things like vigilance that you think you like. You think you like it when a creature says, do a thing for everything it's got, including its reinforcements. But you could just write it in a better way so that it was an elegantly written ability and didn't depend on being pumped up by that ugly number that sits in the corner of the card all the time. But they've forgotten to write it on this anyway. X is the number of fungus or sapling creatures you control. Then if you descended, create 2 fungus tokens. I mean, what a piece of shit. Isn't it a piece of shit? The Skullspore Nexus is a card that has already turned up in Battles from the Ages boosters. If you have one of those boosters lying around your vault, open it now. You can get yourself the Skullspore Nexus. When a creature you control dies, if this card is in your hand and you control a dinosaur, reduce the cost of this card by 3. It's 14 mana, 5 shields. When a creature you control dies, create a fungus dinosaur, is what I'm seeing. When a dinosaur token enters the battlefield, all your creatures get +1/+1. Play with Thopter Spy Network instead. The end. Next, Thousand Moons Crackshot. When this creature attacks, you may drain 5 mana from your hand. If you do, the last opposing creature gains stun counter 1. Obviously not powerful. It kind of seems okay for a common, doesn't it? Obviously not powerful enough to actually play with. But it kind of seems it's locking something down, doesn't it? I mean, locking something down for the cost of draining 5 mana a turn is not as good as actually locking something down for free. That's a lot of mana. But, I mean, I guess. Yeah, again, you know, more powerful than your average common in such a way that nobody really gives a shit. When this support enters the board, create a gnome soldier token. Oh, hello, there's something written on this. At the beginning of your turn, this creature's base power intelligence gets XX. X is the number of artifact you control, including their reinforcements. Okay. It is an artifact itself. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more artifact supports or creatures, transform this card. Right. Well, it's an artifact support. It's creating an artifact. 3 or more artifact supports or 3 creatures. Right. It's saying one or the other, isn't it? That's quite a bit worse. I was thinking you'd only need 1 more artifact. You'd have this, you'd have the token, and then that would be 3. But it's saying no. 3 creatures or 3 supports. Let's see what's on the backside. 2 loyalty gems, that's not good enough. When you activate a loyalty ability for the first time during your turn, create a gnome soldier token. Yeah, again, what's this doing on the backside? Just fucking put it all on the front side of the card. Everything that's going on here, put it all on the front side of the card. It's still probably not good enough. I don't know, maybe it is. If it was all written, if it was 9 mana, every turn you get 2 loyalty gems, and you get a soldier token, yeah? And you get an extra soldier token. That would be okay, wouldn't it? That would just be a card. Probably still not good enough to play, but we could talk about it. I mean, I get it. They want to make it a bit like paper, but there's all kinds of things they make completely different from paper. Make this be one of them. Either think about how to make the transforming card thing something we give a shit about, or don't do it. What I'm saying is they should use their brains while I'm designing, and I can hear myself saying that, and I don't know why I'm bothering. Threefold Thunderhawk. Something just sounds a bit rude about that. I don't know what it is. There's nothing rude about saying threefold Thunderhawk. It's just quite good, isn't it? When this creature enters the battlefield, create X gnome tokens. We know what those are. When a gnome creature you control dies on this creature gets +1/+1. At the beginning of your turn, you may have target gnome creature you control lose a reinforcement. If you do, this creature gains double strike. Oh, they're 1/2s. We didn't know what they were. We thought we knew what they were, but they're actually just plain old 1/2s. So it's a 3/3. Ah, it's not creating 3/3/3s every turn. Okay, so we're putting 3/3 into play. We're immediately getting a 3/6. When a known creature dies or loses a reinforced creature, it's +1/+1. Okay, that's basically not happening. At the beginning of your turn, you may have target known creature you control lose a reinforcement. Creature gets double strike. Right. Okay, so I see what's going on there. You can choose to make your stack of 3 gnome tokens. You can choose to make it smaller. That makes this guy bigger. He gets double strike. He gets bigger. It's all not enough to be interesting, is it? Isn't it? The numbers need to be much higher to make this an interesting card. And it still seems a bit too fiddly for me to give a shit about. Moving on. Craft 4 creatures. My God, that's your entire hand. 4 creatures. Who's got 4 creatures to just throw away? It was right there in paper. The mechanic was right there in paper. You can craft from your fucking graveyard. 4 creatures. At the beginning of your turn, destroy the top 2 cards of your... And of course, they've kept... They've kept all of the things written on the descend card, the craft cards, sorry, that throw cards into your graveyard that had synergy with the original version of craft, but they've changed what craft does, so it doesn't matter. The end of your turn, exile cards with a specified subtype from your hand. Yeah, what they've done is they've made a card that doesn't have synergy with itself. And that's the most important thing that card needs to have synergy with, is its own self. Anyway, just supposing you manage to throw away 4 creatures, because that's all this card does so far, is you play it, and then you have to get rid of 4 creatures from your hand. Oh, I mean, at least we get a thing out of it if we do that. We get Menace, Trample, Lifelink, Hexproof. Okay, so Lifelink and Hexproof, they are very slightly things. When this creature attacks, move the first card from your exile into the graveyard. Okay, I see what they're doing now. This is fucking Clive. Fuck it, we'll call him Clive. Clive 2. This is Clive 2, yeah? Because Clive, of course, worked for... Octagon, and he's gone now. But Clive 2, he's sitting in the same chair. He just happens to have the same name. He's the game designer. He just wets his pants whenever he comes up with something synergy, and he's like, oh, they're going to have to discard, going to have to exile all of the cards in their hand, but wait, look, they get them back again. Move the first card from your exile into your graveyard. At the end of your turn, return the first card from your graveyard to your hand and gains half its mana. It doesn't even come into play. Is anyone expecting that to say it comes into play? No. It comes into your hand and it gains half its mana. So you've got to play this. You've got to exile 4 creature cards from your hand. In the meantime, it's doing a completely pointless, unrelated thing of throwing cards into the graveyard. I like 7/7 lifelinkers as much as the next man. You can even put hexproof on them if you like. 7/7 lifelink's the important bit, isn't it? But crafting 4 creatures, ugh. Looks like we're actually going to get through the entire set tonight, doesn't it? We're on card 205 of 225. Let's crack on through. It is 20 past 11 here in the UK. Tinker's Tote. When the support enters the board, create 2 gnome tokens. When it's destroyed, gain 2 life. Yeah, that's definitely not good enough. Tishana's Tidebender. 10 mana flash, 3/2. When this card enters the battlefield, disable target opposing creature. Then you draw 2 cards, and this creature gets +2/+1. Okay, I don't rightly know why it's not just a fucking 5/3 and why it has to buff itself, but whatever. Those things are ever so slightly different, even though we don't really care about it. Oh dear. When this creature dies, enable all opposing creatures. Well, that was a strong opener, wasn't it? It was going to be a flash Sleep with the Fishes, wasn't it? For a second there. It really looked like a flash Sleep with the Fishes with a couple of extra card draws thrown in. But, unfortunately, it's basically got the bind emblem on it, hasn't it? Because as soon as this creature dies, and let's face it, creatures die, they all come back again. And in fact, if you happen to have disabled anything with Sleep with the Fishes, it's going to enable all of the other creatures to disabled as well. So I'm afraid this is garbage, isn't it? It's definitely not good enough. Harbinger of the Tides is so much better than this, I am afraid. There was an opportunity to do something here with flash and removal. It didn't have to be perfect. It didn't have to be a flash Sleep with the Fishes. Let's face it, Sleep with the Fishes is frankly a little bit too good, isn't it? You know? So it could have done with being powered down a little bit when you gave it flash, but they've powered it down way too much, and that is a shame. Tithing Blade. Craft one creature. See, I don't mind craft one creature. That's okay, isn't it? When this support enters the board, destroy the first opposing creature. You have my interest. That one effect is a little expensive for 13 mana, but there's more on the card. This might even turn into something. I doubt it, but this might turn into something good. Let's see what a Consuming Sepulchre does. Support enters the board, destroy the first opposing creature. I mean, there's kind of nothing wrong with that as an ability. What do we got here? At the beginning of your turn, draw 2 cards and lose 6 life. Those cards gain 2 mana for each of these support shields, which is 1. So that's kind of not enough, isn't it? We're a little bit excited about it. I mean, it's not, you know, untargeted removal for 13 mana is a bit too expensive. You know, especially when we could be paying just a little bit more for the Kami War and getting good stuff. And, you know, I'm afraid the backside of the card is not good enough to push it anywhere near the realm, whether it's going to see play. But, you know, bad removal. Triumphant Chomp. I think he's biting a beetle in half. I think Triumphant Chomp is the name of the action and not the name of the dinosaur. But I like to think of it as the name of the dinosaur. It's a bit like when they made like Churning Eddy and Temporal Eddy. I used to think that those were the names of the people, of the characters shown in the artwork of those cards. Yeah? We all did that, didn't we? Temporal Eddy? Yeah? I thought so. Eddie's in the space-time continuum, and that's his sofa. Deal X damage to target opposing creature. X is the total power of all dinosaur creatures you control. I've seen worse in this very set, but obviously not good enough. Trumpeting Carnosaur. 13 mana, 7/6. When this creature enters the battlefield, discover 4. I mean, that's just quite generally solid, isn't it? And there's more. When this creature attacks, deal 3 damage to the first opposing creature. I kind of like this card. I don't think it's good enough to play with. You know? But it's good. The numbers are all quite good. I don't mind the fact that it does like dribs and drabs of damage. Because that's like the least important thing on the card, really, is that it kills your opponent's creatures. I mean, this is absolutely god shit tier. Do you know what I mean? This is probably better than shit tier, to be perfectly honest. It's going to wreck any deck that you play against when you're mastering cards. It only does that discover 4 once. You know, that's still good. I mean, we've had cards. Abbot of Kirkheap in the original Origins, before they nerfed it, it used to draw a card and put some mana in it, didn't it? We like that. Just playing a good, you know, this is a nice, well-costed body It draws a card, it puts some mana in it, it deals a bit of damage. Nothing wrong with this card, probably not good enough to play with. Well, almost certainly not good enough to play with. I mean, compare this to Tovolar. I mean, honestly. You know, Tovolar does everything this does better. Well, maybe not even everything, because it doesn't. Tovolar does get cards and put mana in them, and it does hit people very hard and actually kill things. Don't mind that card. It's fine. It's pretty good even, but it's not going to make any of my standard decks. Been back. The Great Mistake. This is a big mass of skellies. Descend 6. Fuck off. Yeah, I mean, this was a great mistake, wasn't it? Descend 6 straight away. That is what the great mistake is, isn't it? Having Descend 6. If your Descend level is 6 or more and this card is in your graveyard, return it to the battlefield under your control, reinforce this creature. Ain't nobody giving a flying fuck about no skeleton horror, I'm afraid. We do not care. What have we got? Unlucky drop. Wow, they've really costed this one badly, haven't they? There's some good stuff going on here. Return target creature to its owner's hand. That is an effect you absolutely cannot afford to cost 18 mana. You know? Endless Detour, 6 mana. We like that. Disperse! It's alright, isn't it? Disperse. Used to see a little play back in... It's been a long time since anybody's played Disperse. Harbinger of the Tides, vaguely playable at times. I can't remember the last time I played it in Standard, but I'd play it in Seize the Day, if I was still playing Seize the Day, which I'm not because I can't be asked at the moment. But yeah, 18 mana, too much for returning target creature to its owner's hand. Then destroy a random opposing non-Vanguard support. It's just too much, you know? Bouncing a creature, destroying a support. We like that. It costs at least twice as much as it should. Yeah? At 9 mana... At 9 mana, that could become a staple, couldn't it? 18 mana is just way too much for that. Unstable Glyph Bridge. Craft 3 artifacts. When the support enters the board, destroy all creatures with power 4 or more. That's interesting. It does kill a Gaia's Revenge. I'll tell you what it doesn't kill, though. It doesn't kill an enormous stack of Tainted Adversary zombies. That's what it doesn't kill. It's kind of interesting, but it's still a bit conditional, you know? It becomes like Burn. When the destruction like that is too conditional, it becomes like Burn. I can't imagine wanting to play with this, but we will see. There's some more. We can craft 3 in your hand with full mana. Oh, this is a creature, right? So it can be killed. If you have 1 or more cards in your hand with full mana, till end of turn, players can't activate Loyalty and Vanguard abilities. Have you noticed how this card that destroys all creatures with power 4 or more also destroys the creature that it creates? That's a little bit unfortunate, isn't it? Otherwise, okay, there's more. If you have 1 or more cards in your hand with full mana, otherwise disable the first opposing creature until the end of your next turn. I mean, there's a lot going on here. I don't think there's enough, is there? Crafting 3 artifacts is just too many to turn it on. We're blowing up a bunch of creatures, but not necessarily the ones we might want to get rid of. I mean, generally getting rid of all the creatures we might want to get rid of. You know, like GRs, like, you know, stacks of Blade Coiled Serpents, but not necessarily. Oh, power 4 or more. You're not talking base power, are we? Ah, if we ignore everything I just said, you're all out there screaming at me, Steve. Yes, of course it kills a stack of Tainted Adversary zombies. It's not base power 4 or more, is it? Maybe I need to reassess this card. Let's screw my head on and think about it more sensibly. So anything that's going to kill you, this is going to deal with. The things it's going to leave behind are things like utility creatures, like whatever that thing is, that green thing that costs 5 mana and converts 5. I really should learn the name of that card that is a 0/1 and costs 5 mana and converts 5 gems to green, because I talk about it a lot. That said, nobody ever plays that fucker. Nobody actually really cares about that fucker. It is a good card. You'd kind of think somebody would. I never see anybody playing with it. And I don't play with it either. But then, you know, green's got problems these days. So we're killing anything that's big enough to kill us, although not necessarily utility things. And then we have to get rid of too many artifacts. That's a problem. And we get a creature which is killable, and also killable by another copy of Unstable Glyph that might come along. But that creature does some fun things. Disable the first opposing creature at the beginning of your opponent's turn. And if you have one or more cards in your hand with full mana, players can't activate Loyalty or Vanguard abilities. I mean, it does seem like a card that everybody should own, to be perfectly honest. It does seem like a card that you should own. It seems like a card that I'm going to look at a lot when I'm building deck. When I go looking for new cards that I haven't had in my deck, this does seem like a card I'm going to look at and go, oh, okay, and then decide not to put in my deck. I think everybody should have this card. And it definitely does a bunch of good things. But I mean, you don't need to watch out for good control cards, do you? It's going to be irritating when Greg drops one of these against you and kills all of your creatures. You're going to be irritated by that, but you're not going to lose the game because he's controlled the game. The only things that make you lose the game, generally, are, you know, massive threats that come at you. Dangerous control cards that come at you generally don't make you lose the game. Yeah, I'll be looking out for that. There's a lot of interesting stuff on that card that might just be a little too hard to get at. Well, I like it, I think. Visage of Dread. Craft 2 creatures. When this support enters the board, your opponent discards the first artifact card from their hand. Garbage, clearly. And on the other side, we've got a 5/4 with Menace. Destroy the top 2 cards of your library. When this creature attacks, destroy the top 1 card of your library. It's a waste of time. Why would you play with that when you can just play with a creature? Veto! We've seen Veto, but I've bitten my tongue. I'm so close to the end. I've only got 10 cards to do and I've bitten my fucking tongue. Oh, it's right at the back and it's sitting on a bit of sharp tooth. I'm just going to, excuse me just a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some chewing gum in. This is going to be a little disgusting, just for a second. I'm going to chew away at some chewing gum. Hopefully this won't take too long. I'm going to sit that bit of chewing gum over my tooth. This is riveting content, isn't it? What did you do Monday night? Oh, I listened to this guy on the internet chewing some chewing gum. It was great. This is not going to work. The problem is that the chewing gum I've got to do this, I always have gum in specifically for these problems. But of course, normally I'm not talking constantly just to myself. But this is crunchy chewing gum, these big pills of crunchy chewing gum. And I have to chew it all up. It's a good job I don't edit these videos, isn't it? I could have edited all of this out. Yeah, that's not going to work. Shit. We'll power on through. I'll take the gum out of my mouth. We'll power on through. At the beginning of your turn, increase this card's level by 1. Then create a vampire demon token. How big's that? 4/3 flying. Okay. So 4/4, we get a vampire demon token. So, you know, it's sprogging out power as fast as a Thought to Spy network or as a Bat God. Do we know if the Bat God sprogs out 4 bats every turn? Because he discards 2 cards. Does that mean he sprogs out 4 bats every turn? I don't know. I haven't got him yet, I don't think. Anyway, and he's a little bit cheaper, 11 mana. So, you know, but we don't really like token generators that are creatures themselves. When a creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, if this card's level is 3 or more, your opponent loses 9 life and you gain 9 life. I mean, it's looking very high shit tier, isn't it? I mean, it's quite solid, really. It puts a creature into play. It generates a bunch of tokens. It even gains some life. I can't imagine anybody's excited to play this over the Bat God, who for the low cost of 6 more mana just does loads more extra things, doesn't it? You know, just making your opponent discard things. And even though the Bat God is doing the complete lockdown thing at the moment, you know, that is apparently a bug that will get fixed. But even then, you know, making your opponent discard 2 cards and drawing a card yourself when they fix the bug, that means that you would be drawing a card instead of making Greg draw a card, you know, and when it dies it flips over. Yeah, so, you know, even though there's a lot of stuff going on here, it's high shit tiered, absolutely. Don't think anybody's going to be playing this guy over the Bat God. There is some life gain on it, and the life gain kicks in reasonably soon, I guess. I'd prefer it to just have lifelink, to be perfectly honest. Oh no, but there's not really a... Sorry, I was thinking the lifelink triggers every turn. It absolutely does not. It's when a creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement during your turn. Oh, I was thinking it was going to get you some life every turn. No, it does not. Yeah, very high shit tier card there. Volatile Wanderglyph. When this creature attacks, discard a card and draw 2 cards. I mean, we've seen cards that... You know, Inti for 5 mana does a discovery, doesn't it? And discard a card. So I'm not going to care about drawing cards and not putting mana into them, am I? What have we got here? Return target creature to the bottom of its owner's library. Oh, that's fine. You know, it's just another removal, isn't it? I'm assuming you notice how I've stopped and I'm willing to assess the entire worth of the card before I've even read the thing below where it says Descend 3. And I think that's a fair assessment, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, this is a removal spell, which is fine. But, you know, why are you going to play this over Void Rend? I mean, it's the same colours, isn't it, without white. It does demonstrate why hard-to-kill creatures are easier to kill than you might think. You know, your Bat God, for example, you know, if you kill that with a Void Rend, it's going to turn into a land and come back, isn't it? Whereas, you know, putting something on the bottom of your library, that just fucks the Bat God off, doesn't it? That's not going to turn into a land, it's just going to fuck off. But I suspect this isn't going to make the cut in a deck. Let's go on, just for shits and giggles, let's see what the Descend 3 does. When you cast this spell, if your Descend support level is 3 or more, pick one of the first 4 creature or spell from your graveyard and put it into your hand. I mean, this would be the place to put a Descend, in my opinion. Yeah? Like just a basic, solid creature removal spell. Yeah? That just every so often, maybe every 3 or 4 games, happen to trigger and do a thing. But that's not powerful enough, is it? I mean, imagine if that put the card into play, that might actually be a Descend worth worrying about. People have been assessing, a lot of people have been assessing Descend, say a lot of people, the 3 or 4 people I saw discussing it in Discord. They've been assessing Descend as, you know, you need to do a bunch of stuff, and then eventually the card goes bizarre and bursts into play, you know? But there's another way that Descend could work, and that would be the way that this card works, which is that every time you cast the card, it's great, and then every so often it does a Descend thing and it does a little more. That would be another way for Descend to work, and that would be perfectly valid. But as I say, this card is not as good as a Void Rend, and the extra spandrel effect on the end, putting a card back into your hand and putting no mana into it, is not good enough to justify it being played. Not offensive. The existence of the card is not offensive, but a bit of a wasted opportunity of Descend there. I mean, we're at card 218 of 225. That would have been the one that have made me go, oh, okay, do you know what? Descend hasn't completely wasted our time. It's only almost completely wasted our time. Walk with the Ancestors. This is going to be one of those spells that's too expensive, isn't it? I feel like that's a mechanical theme of this set, isn't it? You know, you can always see themes showing up in sets, like dinosaurs, you know, and explore is another theme going on in this set. And one of the themes of this set has definitely been spells that are too expensive. Pick one of the first two support or creature cards from your graveyard, fetch that card, then discover two. I mean, that's just weird. Isn't that weird? Because the bit of the card with all the text on it is obviously just so much worse than Discover 2, isn't it? Because that's the thing that puts mana into the card. If that card just said Discover 2, then Discover 2, and we've seen plenty of cards that do that, double discovers, it would be better, wouldn't it? That's just a weird designer to put all of those words on the card and then at the end of the card just go, oh, and by the way, do something that's more powerful than all of those other words written on the card. Obviously still not good. When you draw a card, this creature gets +1/+1. Right. Seems a bit small for the Johnnies, I'm afraid, doesn't it? A 1/2 for 11 that's getting 1/1 every card seems a bit small. When you cast a support or creature, draw a card. Crucially, it doesn't do spells, does it? You know, if it did spells, we'd be talking about a Rashmi that, is she called Rashmi? I think she's called Rashmi. There's 17 mana 3/3, and you draw a card every time you play a card. And that's a big old combo engine. But I fear only doing supports and creatures is not going to allow Warden of the Inner Sky to be a big old combo engine. I don't know, maybe the Johnnies will figure something out, but I fear not. At the beginning of your turn, if this creature's power is 6 or greater, it gets flying and vigilance. Right. You know, I've got to say it. Just give it flying and vigilance. You made the text all small there. Made the text all small, and for what? It would have been so much cleaner if you'd have just given it flying and vigilance. I feel like it's not going to excite the Johnnies, this one. I feel like it isn't. Because they have so many good combo pieces in this set. And that feels like not one of them. Waterlogged Hulk. Craft 2 land. I mean, that's terrible. Crafting 2 land is terrible, isn't it? Summerwell Sage, thank you. Sorry, I've just looked at the chat. The name of the 5 mana green thing that converts 5 gems to green is Summerwell Sage. And Mainloop says he sees a lot of people play it. Well, good. I think you should see a lot of people play it. I think it's a great card. Especially good for Tammy, whose mana curve is a bit shit. Her mana bonuses are a bit shit, but she does get to play Summerwild Sage off 3 different colours of matches, and it you know really helps sort her out. But yeah, for some reason I don't see. I mean, the thing about old Mainloop there is, as he reminded me in the other day in Discord, that he plays all of the revolving planeswalks. I've chopped down a lot of how much I play this game. And I haven't played a revolving planeswalker anywhere. So he just plays a lot more games than I do. So I'm mostly playing. I still play some of the midweeks, you know, but almost none of the dailies. I might start playing Trial of the Plains again to get hold of a few of these cards in this set. But not playing Revolving Planeswalk. Fuck that shit. I'll play the one that I can play, you know, Broken Legacy combos in. I'll play that daily. I'm not going to play Revolving Planeswalk. Anyway, it's good. It's nice that you see Summerwild Sage. You should. People should play that card more. I like it. Anyway, back to crafting 2 land on the Waterlogged Hulk. When this card enters the battle... See, it all makes sense now. So many of these craft cards destroy cards from your library, and it means nothing. Oh, dear. So we're playing 9 mana with drawing 2 cards. Okay, not particularly exciting. I mean, I suppose... drawing 2 cards means we might get some more lands that we might want to craft with. But 2 land just seems bad to me. 2 land seems kind of worse than 3 creatures, to be honest. I could be wrong there, but it seems like it. What's a watertight gondola? Jesus Christ! You've got to craft 2 land, and then you've got to descend 4 after that. They've given up at this point, haven't they? They've really had given up. ChatGPT is designing these cards now, you know? They just said to ChatGPT, make some things that look like cards for the rest of this set. No, nobody's played these cards. Whatever. Waterwind Scout. We're nearly at the end, guys. 222 of 225. There's just time left for one really great card. I can tell it's not going to be this one or the next one because they're both common. So maybe the last one or the last but one is going to be good. When this card enters the battlefield, create X map tokens. X is the number of merfolk you control. We don't care. Oh, there's one last masterpiece coming up, peeps. Let's look at Waylaying Pirates first. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact card, target creature gains stun counter 2. It's too expensive, isn't it? Again, we've not really seen a really good... I think there's room for a standard playable stun counter card in this game, but I haven't seen it. And I kind of don't know what it would look like either, because... you know, when you can pay 9 mana to just fucking kill something, why would you put it out of commission for X turns? So maybe there isn't room in this game for a really good stun counter card. Maybe I've just talked myself out of that, but, you know, keep bumping the power level of these cards up, and maybe someday we'll get somewhere. Here we go. Zilauthor, Strength Incarnate. 20 mana 7/3 is not good. I mean, this is blatantly Godzilla, isn't it? It looks very Godzilla. It's dinosaur Godzilla, obviously, with the horns, but blatantly Godzilla-ish. The beginning of your turn, this creature gets +X +X. X is this creature's power. Permanently. So he's coming down as a 7/3. He's attacking next turn for 14. He's attacking for 21. I mean, that's a clock, isn't it? 20 mana's a lot, though. 20 mana's a lot. You know, I think most of us would probably prefer to have that hexproof on the slower clock that is a Gaia's Revenge than this thing. However, there's more. When this creature attacks, discover 4. Pretty good. For each of the picked cards, if it's a dinosaur card, each of the picked cards, it means 1 card, doesn't it? Picked 1 of the first X cards. Yeah, okay, it's just the way it's written. Fetch stats card gets half its mana, move all the other ones. So we discover 4. If it's a dinosaur, it goes boom straight into play. He is, of course, a dinosaur himself, so if we happen to see another copy of himself, we can slap that into play. Then move all cards that won't fetch this way to the bottom of your library. Right, there's just a bit too much text on that card. Most of that doesn't need to be written there, does it? But we're discovering, as normal, and if it's a dinosaur, it goes straight into play. So yeah, so I mean that's the thing. Discover 4 every turn is the thing that makes it better than Gaia's Revenge. However, it does nothing the turn it comes into play, you know. So if you spend 20 mana on this and somebody shoots it, you're not going to get any of those Discover 4s, are you? But Steve, what if you give it haste? Well, okay, give it haste if you like. Let me know how it turns out. But you know, yeah, just a bit for what it is on its own, and its requirements to be played with something else to make it good. I am underwhelmed. Not great. But okay, I guess it's okay. I guess I have to say it's okay, don't I? Zoyo Lava Tongue. I can't quite work out what's going on that image. No, I've stared at it for a while now. I still can't quite work out what's going on. Oh, is that its other eye? I'm trying to work out exactly which direction it's looking in. I think you can see its other eye, the side of its nose. Okay, I think I've just about parsed that. Anyway, descend 4 on this 13 mana 2/2. I mean, whatever this says, it's going to be shit, isn't it? If your descend support level is 4 or more, each player discards a card, then deals 6 damage to any target. I mean, does anyone want to play this over the back god? I don't think they do. And there we are. Well, there was some stuff in there, wasn't there? I am disturbed by the state of combo. I mean, this set is not absolutely crammed full of combo cards, but there are, certainly. I mean, I can think of 3 really solid combo cards off the top of my head. Galter and their green conversion thing, and Captain Vancy Vancy. So combo players are going to be good. Galter, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of. I think you want to really worry about Galter. I think there's going to be players out there who are going to play with Mana Crypt and Galter, and they're going to use Mana Crypt to cheat Galter into play. And even more scary than that, there are going to be opponents that you face that play Galter and then just get a really lucky cascade, which drops Galter into play and then drops the rest of their hand. And then the Mana Crypt comes out because it was at the bottom of their hand, and then they're playing expensive things cheaply. I think Galter's going to be a big thing that we see a lot of, actually. More than the Tortoise. The Tortoise might catch on some more from the last set, the Blossoming Tortoise. We might see more of that as time goes on, as people get more chance to get hold of it. But Galter really is a thing that Tim Easton just go, I want to play with the big thing. And I think they will, and I think we'll see it as a result. But yeah, there's stuff, isn't there? There's control cards for me. There's control cards that they've weirdly hidden away behind a paywall. That makes no sense to me at all. The Timmies are not excited about those cards. Is this another Streets of New Capenna? I mean, I don't know. I'm sure if you go back and listen to my I'm almost positive when you go back and listen to my Streets of New Capenna review that I didn't say this is the best set we're going to have in the next 3 years. I'm pretty sure what I actually said was there are 3 control cards that I like in this set. I think that's probably what I said about it. You know, looking back, you've got to say the Streets of New Capenna is absolutely the high watermark of Standard, and has got quite a lot of good cards in it. Obviously lots of chaff, but quite a lot of good cards in it. Has this got as many good cards in it as that? Maybe. I don't know. I can't quite tell. It's certainly better than the last few sets. It's better than the fucking Brothers' War, isn't it? Let's face it. There's plenty of shit in here, like the Descend. Descend is quite bad. Demonstrates a basic lack of understanding of the game. Yeah, there are things, as I say, I have already gone out and I've bought myself most of the current Elite Pack because I wanted to get Mana Crypt. I got myself a Golden Wish. There's Captain Vancy Vance in the latest Elite Pack. And who knows, with my How many does it say there? 1,675 crystals. Maybe I will get most of the next elite pack as well and just completely run out of crystals, even with Battles from the Ages coming up. But yeah, seems all right, this set. Seems better than some. And that is the end of the stream. And now I'm going to go and put some ice on my tongue, which I have bit, which is still complaining about the fact that I have not stopped talking. Thanks, everyone, for... Oh, that's okay, isn't it? It's okay for my voice to be giving out now. That's a perfect time. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming in. I've been keeping an eye on the YouTube stream, and it does seem like this time we haven't gone low res. It's possible that that just happened because of lucky happenstance. It's also possible that I've solved the problem. Hooray, that was making it happen in the past. So I'll keep doing this, streaming from the Streamlabs app to see if it solves the problem in the future. And I will see you for the next set in 3 or so months' time, which is... I've no idea. I've no idea what the next set is. I don't know if we're staying in Ixalan or whether we're going to somewhere else. Oh, are we doing another... I think I might have seen some spooky vampire cards or something. We're not doing another Innistrad. It feels like we're always on Innistrad. I suppose Innistrad's popular though, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, anyway, see you for the next set. Thank you very much for everyone being in. And tatty bye.